6:38. 1 minute. Oh, they are. Oh, somebody told them. Okay. I'm going to say,
I got to tell you,
yeah,
there's
I will.
a lot of South Jersey on the left.
Hi, I'm Laura. Well, 'Good evening. I'm Laura Jones, host of New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones, and in just a few minutes, we will begin the first debate between the candidates for the Republican nomination for governor in the state of New Jersey, between John Bramnick, Jack Ciattarelli, Ed Durr, and Bill Spadea. The winner of June's primary election will go on to compete in November's general election for the seat currently held by Phil Murphy. This debate is presented by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey and is sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health, Prudential, and McCarter and English. The debate is produced by the New Jersey Globe, On New Jersey, and Rider University. Now to our rules. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make an opening statement. After that, our panel will ask a series of questions related to state issues and the campaign for governor. Now, we realize that we could easily dedicate an entire debate to any of the topics covered tonight, but in the interest of covering as many topics as possible, we're going to keep the conversation moving along with our timeline. Respectfully, I ask the candidates to stick to their allotted time. If a candidate goes too long, I'm going to hold up my hand. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to interrupt. And if that doesn't work, I do have my bell, and I rarely have to use it. Hopefully won't have to use it tonight. The questions this evening are coming from David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe, Micah Rasmussen of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University, and Joey Fox of the New Jersey Globe. Each candidate will receive roughly the same number of questions. Answers to questions asked directly by our moderators will be limited to 1 minute. Then we will permit back and forth between the candidates, limited to 45 seconds each. If one candidate is the target of an attack, we will provide 30 seconds to respond at my discretion. And just because your name is called doesn't mean that it isn't attacked. The microphones are going to be on, but we do reserve the right to mute them if necessary. My job is to be the moderator, not to take sides, not to give opinion. So I will moderate and keep this debate on course. I'm going to look to each candidate to make sure what their opponent says is based on fact. Candidates will have 1 minute for a closing statement. We conducted a draw with each of the campaigns to determine the order of opening statements, closing statements, and podium places. Right now, though, we're going to take a look at the candidates' campaign videos.
New Jersey, diners, the shore, proud families, and the best pizza anywhere. My immigrant grandparents and parents made Jersey their home, raised a family, built a business. So did I. Sadly, the politicians and trend have made the American dream harder and harder. They're breaking promises, wasting billions, and raising taxes. They're selling out our families. It's time. Time for new leadership in Jersey.
It's time for a proven leader.
A leader who will get things done. Jack?
Jack.
Jack.
Jack Ciattarelli.
The guy built 2 successful Main Street businesses.
The trending politicians just spend and spend.
And take and take.
We can't afford to live here anymore.
We can't afford them.
Jack gets it.
He gets it.
He's not a career politician. He term limited himself.
He's going to term limit these guys in Trenton.
It's about time.
With Jack, no more games. No more broken promises.
Jack will get things done.
Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli for governor. It's time.
New Jersey's political establishment has given us broken promises and backroom deals. You have 2 choices. You can either say, that's just politics, or get mad enough to elect an outsider. I'm Ed Durr, and I'm running for governor, and the political establishment doesn't want me. If you want to stop the backroom deals and lower your taxes, vote for me. I'm Ed the Trucker, and I may not have all the answers, but I do know how to beat the establishment. Go to edthetrucker.com and donate.
So who you voting for in the primary?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, should I care?
I think you should care.
Listen, John Bramnick, he's the only Republican who can win the general election.
Well, that's because he's a smart dude.
He can change the nonsense going on in Trenton. He's a Jersey guy. Jersey will vote for him.
He's right. Bramnick's a good guy.
How many you want? 2?
Yeah. That's cool. You know, he has a way of making you feel like he's just one of us.
And he's not cheap, except with our tax money.
I saw this guy on TV. He's nice, he's normal, he's a family man, and he's not crazy like these other politicians.
He's a real Jersey guy. He's tough on crime. Calls it Taylor ham, not pork roll. He's got it all.
That's all you do is you worry about. You worry about money, you worry about your children, you worry about your schools. I think this guy's gonna be on top of it.
You know, it's time for a change. And Bramnick is the guy.
I'll tell you, Bramnick, I'm in.
I'm all in on Bramnick.
Bramnick.
Okay, let's see.
I heard you from the other room, finally talking some sense. Voting for Bramnick.
Every once in a while, we figure it out.
Oh, please.
Hey guys, I'm Bill Spadia. I'll be with you at 10 o'clock this morning, talking Jersey, taking your calls. As always, I want to hear from you. Question today is, are you digging in with me? Let's get started with John from Sayreville. John, what's on your mind?
Hey, Bill, I gotta be honest. I've given up on this damn state.
I know, John. The Trenton politicians have literally wrecked everything.
I can't afford to live here anymore. The politicians have rigged the state against anyone who works hard and does the right thing. I know you've probably heard this before, but you're the only one who can help us.
You know, I've hosted my popular conservative talk show for the past 9 years, and when New Jerseyans call in to talk, I'm listening, and this is what I'm hearing. Taxes, spending, borrowing, inflation, all out of control. Serious concern about the radical liberal nonsense our kids are taught in school. And while we struggle, Trenton politicians have opened the floodgates for illegals getting free handouts on your dime. But here's a newsflash. Republicans are never going to take back our state if we nominate a 35-year career politician who's already lost twice for governor. Politicians, they talk at you. Me, I listen. I've heard you loud and clear. So I'm in. I'm running for governor to fight for you. I'm ready, willing, and able to lead with strength, conviction, and courage to restore common sense to our great state. I'll make the tough budget cuts that scare the career politicians. We'll fix the way we fund schools so suburban parents pay less property taxes. Give kids an education at school, not an indoctrination. We'll stop Joe Biden from using our state as a dumping ground for his illegals and end the handouts they get from Phil Murphy and weak sellout Republicans. The insider establishment power brokers, no, they don't like me. Why? Because I'm an outsider they can't control, and because I'm unapologetically conservative, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and pro-Trump. If you're okay with more of the same, the other Republicans running for governor will give you exactly that. I'm running for the people who are sick and tired of expecting little from the politicians we elect and getting even less. On the radio, I give power to those who deserve to have their voices heard, and that's exactly what I'll do as your governor. Now let's get to work.
The Republican New Jersey gubernatorial primary debate is getting started. Stay with us.
My mom and I talk about everything, from family recipes to health plans. She's my go-to for advice. When I was choosing a plan for Gina and myself, she suggested Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Mom has been a member since before I was born. A lot has changed since then, but Horizon has always been there. They focus on our overall health, including dental and vision plans. My family is what matters most to me, and I have peace of mind knowing that we're covered by Blue.
Whatever your cancer journey, there's one place in New Jersey where our discoveries become your care. You'll have access to advanced treatments, including clinical trials, thanks to our renowned scientists and multidisciplinary teams at New Jersey's only NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, the one world-class cancer program that's close to home. RWJ Barnabas Health and Rutgers Cancer Institute. Let's beat cancer together.
Karen's about to retire. Here's what's going into her retirement.
There's us. She raised us on our own.
10 years as my roller derby wife.
Three schools she's opened.
She's a mother.
I think we turned out all right.
She's a friend.
Our mothers could tell stories.
She's a teacher.
She may be retiring, but she's not done.
I'm never gonna stop. Retirement is the sum of your life's work. Now what? Get income for life and protect your life's work with Prudential.
A transformative experience doesn't happen by accident. It's created with purpose. It's built on an engaged learning program that challenges you to go out and create your own opportunities on campus and anywhere else. It empowers you to chart your own course, compete and win at the highest level, and grow into a workforce-ready grad. It's signified by making the most of this pivotal time in your life. How will Rider University transform you?
Hello and welcome to the Republican New Jersey gubernatorial debate presented by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm Laura Jones, and tonight we are bringing you the first debate among the Republican candidates vying for the nomination for New Jersey governor. The winner of the June primary will advance to the November general election, aiming to succeed Governor Phil Murphy. Tonight we are coming to you live from Rider University in Lawrenceville. This debate is presented by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey and is sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health, Prudential, and McCarter in English. The debate is produced by the New Jersey Globe, On New Jersey, Rider University, and Save Jersey. Joining us this evening here on the stage, we have 4 candidates and we have a live audience. Now, we ask members of the audience to refrain from making noise, including clapping or other audible reactions during the debate. As I introduce the candidates, this will be the only time the audience is allowed to break the rule to show your appreciation with applause. And that time is now as we welcome the candidates to the stage. First, Jack Ciattarelli, former state assemblyman and the 2021 Republican nominee for governor. Bill Spadia, radio host and conservative political commentator. Ed Durr, former state senator. And John Bramnick, state senator and former Republican leader in the New Jersey General Assembly. Joining me on the panel this evening is David Wildstein, editor of the New Jersey Globe, Micah Rasmussen, Director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University, Joey Fox, Congressional Correspondent for the New Jersey Globe, and Matt Rudy, Editor of Save Jersey. Now, we've gone over the rules of the debate and have a lot of questions to get to, so we're going to jump right into opening statements. John Bramnick, you won our candidate draw. You will go first, followed by Bill Spadia, Jack Chittarelli, and Ed Durr. John Bramnick, the time is yours.
Thank you. We have had one-party rule in Trenton, and one-party rule without balance has resulted in overdevelopment of our municipalities. Crime is on the rise. There's been this sympathy for criminals and not for our citizens. Taxes and expensive, very expensive times for our people. But in order to change that, we have to win. What that means is you need Republican votes, Democratic votes, the moderate Democrats, and you also need independents. I have proven over the years that I can win as a Republican. I won as the Assembly Republican leader unanimously for 10 years. Thank you, Jack, for 3 votes. And let me be clear. I win a district that Kamala Harris won by 12 points, Biden won by 17 points, and I won by 7 points. So remember this, nothing changes unless we win.
Bill Spadia, next to you.
Thank you. What a blessing it is to be here tonight, an incredible opportunity. For those of you that have been listening to me on the air for the past 10 years, you know that I'm a Jersey guy. And you know that my wife Jody and I, when we say we're digging in, we are digging in. We love New Jersey. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary. Jody is here with me tonight. And we've got 2 outstanding kids. We love them. We've got a great son-in-law. And we are looking for the future of New Jersey to be one that all families can come together and afford to live here. Now, for me, I have been a U.S. Marine. I've started businesses, and I've worked in the private sector for the past 20-plus years. And I have been an ardent, strong, and effective supporter of President Donald Trump since he came down the escalator in 2015. Now, what we need and what I have committed to is that we are going to implement the America First agenda on day one. 2 problems in New Jersey: woke Democrats who wrecked this state and weak Republicans who let it happen. We need something different. Enough of the career politicians. I am going to work very hard to earn your vote.
Jack Chittarelli.
We've heard line number 1. Republicans, with me as your nominee, we can win this race. But as the minority party in this state, we have to unite. Donald Trump united the party this past election day. I will do my best, as I did in 2021, to unite the party. Let me tell you about 2 people who are not about party unity, 2 people that are really all about themselves. John Bramnick is someone who, when he's not hosting Phil Murphy to barbecues in his backyard, is calling the Trump supporters in our party crazies and a cult. As for Bill Spadia, when he's not lying about me or trashing Donald Trump, he's someone that refers to the moderate wing of our party as rhinos. He does the same thing with anyone who disagrees with him. We need a serious candidate, one who can unite our party, one who brings a very positive energy to the campaign, one who can raise the necessary money, unlike my opponents, and one who's going to benefit all candidates down ballot. To Republicans, I say I am that nominee. I hope to have your support and your vote in this primary.
Ed Durr.
Thank you for having tonight's debate and hosting it. Tonight, you're going to hear a couple of guys argue over who's more Trump-like. I'm going to ask you to block that out because it's just noise. Simple fact is, all of my opponents are connected to the political establishment. My campaign has no connection to the political establishment. Why? Because they don't want me. They fear me. Let that sink in. This campaign is going to be about affordability. On council, freeholder, assembly, Senate, 2 of my opponents have failed to make New Jersey affordable. The other guy, he's got a political power broker running his campaign. He's just the other side of the same coin. It'll be business as usual. The only way to fix New Jersey is by doing something different. Well, I'm different, and that scares them. So working together, we can fix New Jersey. So I'm asking you to go to edthetrucker.com and learn more. Thank you.
Well, since we got attacked.
Gentlemen, well,
Since we got attacked, I
No,
think we have an
that was opening
opportunity.
statements. Opening statements we're going to get. We're
No,
going
no,
to get.
Mr. Chitterelli,
Hey, I'm the moderator, and everybody's going to get a chance to be able to talk. That was just opening statements. I think I'm going to use my bell quite a bit tonight. We thank you all for your opening statements.
Let us know we can respond to an attack. Because
Well,
Jack
it's Jersey. It's
Jack
Jersey.
forgot who the governor was because he hasn't been down there in a decade.
All right, I'm going to
They're
go
running
to
around
the
the
panel.
state
I'm going to
losing.
the panel. I'm going to go to the panel for our first questions, and
You-
you'll be
you
able
don't
to
call-
address all of
you
that.
don't
So
call
thank you
Trump
for your
supporters
opening
crazy and a
statements.
cult?
Micah Rasmussen, you have the first question.
Let's give voters a preview of January 20th, 2026, the day you hope to be sworn in. There's been enormous attention on executive orders, but let's get this out of the way first. Just 3 prior governors have lived in Drumthwack at the governor's residence just up the road from here. Would you become the 4th? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Have you been to Drumpwagon?
I enjoy South Jersey. South Jersey is a beautiful place.
Yes.
I have no idea. I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
Okay. What executive orders would you repeal or sign? What else needs to happen on day one?
Well, I would end sanctuary cities for a real simple reason. If we're a law and order state, we have to follow law and order. And the federal law is that you have to cooperate with the federal government. The fact that we unilaterally make a decision to set up a sanctuary state, what if cities set up sanctuary cities against state law? Look, I feel very badly about certain people who've been here for 30 years, and this is their life. But we have to follow the law as a governor of this state.
Oh, that'd be simple. Everything that Governor Murphy made an executive order, I'd rescind, because starting with all his COVID lockdown orders, to his sanctuary state orders, to removing employees because they didn't take the COVID shots, all of it's gone day one. So I find it amusing that John goes and says law and order, but he voted for the guy who gave Governor Murphy all these abilities to do this. You voted for Matt Plackton in the Senate. That right there should disqualify you from even being on this stage.
Well, see, since you were on you're not on the Judiciary Committee and have almost no knowledge. You have no knowledge whatsoever. You're there for 2 years,
have eyes, and I know
the
the
voters
guy
threw you
One at a
out.
time. Let
2
John
years,
Bramnick, and then you can respond, and then we'll go
They
on.
threw you out after 2 years because your judgment was bad.
threw me out because
I
I don't
win
play your
over
game.
and over
I
again
don't
because
play
I've
your
got
game,
good
John.
judgment. Now, if you had won the election, you'd
John,
be in a position
no,
to
I don't play
lecture
your
other
game.
people.
I'm here for
But
the
you-
people, not for the
Well, you may be here for the
establishment like you.
people, but you weren't here for the
You're just the
voters. The
establishment, John.
voters
You've
told
been
you
there
to
for
take a
20
hike.
years,
Okay.
John.
That's what I
All right, I'm
would
going to have to make you pause right there. I'm going to make you pause. We're going to go on. Jack Chitterelli, Bill Spadia, do you want to answer the question?
On day one, executive order number 1, no town in this state will be a sanctuary city, and we will not be a sanctuary state. Executive order number 2, our 65,000 state workers are coming back to work. Half of the workforce is working from home post-pandemic. Also on day 1, I call for the resignation of all those that sit on the State Board of Education that have made all those changes to the public school curriculum I and a whole lot of other people find very, very offensive. What I also do on day 1 is scrap Phil Murphy's ill-conceived and irrational energy plan. We need a rational transition to the future, and one that New Jerseyans can afford.
Bill Spadia.
Well, pretty funny to hear Jack say that because, Jack, as I recall, you still favor driver's licenses for illegals, which is a pathway to voting. You are the one that supported subsidizing college tuition for illegals who are here. So maybe you've changed your tune. I don't know. You looked at some polling. Not sure. Let me tell you this. Day one, we're going to rescind the 2018 executive order and get rid of the sanctuary state. We're going to rescind the 2019 Immigrant Trust Directive. We're going to issue a series of executive orders. We've got 5 already written to stop phase 4 of this high-density housing nonsense that is crushing our suburban communities.
This is coming from the man that wanted to give amnesty to people here illegally. If you don't believe me, go to phonybill.com and you'll see his podcasts and his op-eds. He wanted to give amnesty to everyone who was here illegally.
But was that done by the same consultants and lobbyist buddies of yours? Who
It was
figured
done
out that
by
my-
you.
Wait, who figured out that my
one
initials
thing-
are BS?
One at a time.
The videotape.
He's very
the
clever.
videotape-
Very clever. We never thought of that.
The videotape doesn't lie. Go to the videotape,
What did I tell you?
phonybill.com.
And Bill, did you want a final word here?
Well, it's just silly. I mean, look, we
It's
could.
silly? It's you on the video.
We're going to
It's
decide.
you looking
know
into
what,
the
guys?
camera on your
We're gonna
101.5
decide-
podcast.
Bill has
Wow,
the floor.
I thought we were looking for an adult in the room. Clearly, we need to learn some manners.
That's right, and manners are being honest, not lying about what you've said in the past. But the videotape
guys,
is there.
Guys,
phonybill.com.
Look, you could take Jack and his lobbyist
I think
buddies
you
all
need to
you
ring
want.
the bell, Laura.
I choose to listen to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who told me privately
go. Arguing
and
over Trump.
publicly that he knows I've had his back from the beginning at the escalator, and I'm the only one that has had the conversation with Tom Homan about ending the sanctuary
That's
in
not what
New
I
Jersey.
heard.
We're going to go on.
At least
We're going to go on. It's my turn. My turn. Bring it back. Matt Rooney is next with the next question. You guys can keep on arguing, but the audience is not going to be able to hear. The audience isn't going to be able to hear.
I'm going to cut in here for a second, gentlemen, okay? Governor Phil Murphy began his first term by declaring New Jersey a sanctuary state, as a few of you have already noted. Over the weekend, he caused a further stir by suggesting he could house an illegal immigrant above his mansion's garage and said good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her. It's still not entirely clear what's happening above the governor's garage as we sit here tonight. But what voters need to know from you tonight is the following. Specifically, we're looking for specifics here. What will New Jersey's relationship with federal immigration authorities be with you as governor?
Hey,
Well,
Matt,
we have
Matt,
to cooperate,
first I'll
but
tell
let's
you.
talk about Phil Murphy for a second. If you recall, the day after he said that, he backtracked and he said, there's nobody living over my garage. But bottom line is, we
So we
assist
should
with
go and
ICE.
investigate.
Well, they can investigate all they want. I assume the person's not there anymore, but if the person was there. The important part is we cooperate with the federal government because that's the law. And there's no doubt in my mind that's where New Jersey should be.
First off, I contacted the sheriff. Do you know that a sheriff can arrest and do the job? Following 287G, if they opt in, they can follow through with the immigration laws. So I'm calling on any sheriff who has the nerve to go to Governor Murphy's house right now and find out if there's an illegal alien there. Let's answer this question. Is he lying? Is he telling the truth? I believe he's lying because he's done nothing but lie to us since day one. But just like most of the time we hear it from the establishment, nothing but lies. So if you're going to continue to believe the lies, then you get what you deserve. But I don't want to believe the lies. I don't know about you.
On day one, I'll appoint an attorney general who supports me in not having any sanctuary cities in this state, nor will we be a sanctuary state. The same will be with the 21 county prosecutors that I appoint. We're going to observe the rule of law. We're going to make sure our community is safe and work in partnership with the president. And by not having sanctuary cities or us being a sanctuary state, that means that our local law enforcement communities can work in partnership with any federal agency they see fit to provide for safety in our community. But with regard to being with Donald Trump from the day he came down the escalator, if you go to phonybill.com, you're going to see a video from a podcast in which this guy says that Donald Trump was beaten. He was tired, lacked courage, lacked commitment, didn't want him to run again. He endorsed Ron DeSantis. And he also suggested that Trump should have resigned and let Mike Pence finish the job. You said it. It's in your op-ed. It's in your video.
Well,
admit to what you did.
Funny, Jack's lobbyist buddies have done a great job of culling through 10 years of my show, 10 years, 4 hours a day.
And they're pretty embarrassing.
They did find 17 seconds where I used the words Donald Trump and failure in the same sentence. Totally true.
But you've been with him since he came down the
Here's the funny
escalator.
thing about it. Well,
You
when
said he
you
was beaten.
Bill,
you said he was tired.
Bill, it is true.
All right, so
because I
I'm going to
listened
yield
that
myself
show.
back 30 seconds to answer. When you guys are ready. I'll wait. No, it's good. That's cool.
Actually, no.
You said he
need to
was
reset the
beaten.
clock.
You said he was tired. You said he
here
lacked
you go.
courage.
Again,
One at a time. Bill, 30 seconds.
It kind of reminds me of the old Italian dinner, right? But unfortunately, in a debate as to who is going to be the best next governor, the loudest, most disruptive, annoying person does not win.
That's exactly what you are on the radio.
So let me just,
I have a question.
No, I'm going to, listen, guys, I'm going to answer the question. I've been attacked, and I'm going to answer the question.
10 seconds.
Again, 17 seconds, and here's the funny thing that separates me from these guys on stage. After I made those remarks, after I wrote an article critical of Donald Trump not firing Anthony Fauci, after that, do you know who came on the radio? Do you know who invited Jody and I backstage in Wildwood? Do you know who said that he thought this guy thought so much of himself that he should have invited Donald Trump to help him in 2021.
That was before
so
he had seen
is
the
the
videos.
debate tonight?
Is it we have to go to traffic and weather? Traffic and weather?
So listen, guys, the president of the United States.
Do you think the people in New Jersey
or Trump?
Do you think the people in New
John
Jersey?
Bramnick,
Right,
10
thank
seconds.
you. Do you think the people of New Jersey want the debate to be who loves Donald Trump the most, or who loves New Jersey the most?
Matt,
and let me tell you something. And I'm going to tell you something.
Matt, I'd like to answer your question.
You are not going to win this state unless we get to the issues that cause our problems in this state. And it's not just who loves Donald Trump the most.
How can you
Let's
say
move
you
on.
love New Jersey?
Let's move on.
How can you say you love New Jersey when you called 2 million people that voted for Donald Trump in this state crazies in a cult?
Matt,
You
I'd like to
called them
answer your
crazies in a cult.
Try this.
The question I have for Mr. Chittarelli.
Guys, I'm going to have to get a little Jersey here in a second. Okay, you know what that means.
We're
Let's do a simple thumbs up question here. Thumbs up if it's already come up tonight. Right now, New Jersey provides driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Thumbs up if you would repeal that law.
Of course.
Repeal it.
Absolutely.
So Jack, of course,
Jack changed pretty quick on that one, baby.
Just thumbs up, thumbs down.
But Matt, I'd like to answer your original question because nobody answered it. How do we
I answered the
cooperate
question.
with the federal government? I've done the ride-alongs with ICE. I've made it very clear to Tom Homan that we are going to work with them to enforce federal detainer orders and get these bad guys off the streets. That's something that no one is talking about. The tactics, the details. You've got to understand this problem beyond a soundbite when all of a sudden you discover that illegal immigration is a problem after you got beat last time.
Is that before or after
Okay,
you
we're
give
going to move
everybody
on.
amnesty?
As a
David
Republican
Wildstein.
leader.
David Wildstein has the next question.
So 2 nights ago, 6 Democratic candidates stood where you did. 6 candidates stood there. You know, we're not getting the kumbaya night tonight that we did on Sunday, but you know, you move on and you adapt and everything. But in a serious question, all 6 of those candidates said they supported a constitutional amendment to guarantee a legal right to abortion. Would you support putting that on the ballot, yes or no referendum, to allow New Jersey voters to make that decision, not legislators and not the governor? And let me start with Senator Bramnick.
I am pro-choice with a strong feeling about late-term abortions. I do not support, but I am pro-choice. Now, we got people like Jack Chittarelli. You never know where he is. You never know which side he is on the issue. Acts like he does, not pro-choice. He is pro-choice. Where are you, Jack?
I'll answer them, John, not you.
It's okay. I didn't figure you'd answer it.
Look, I'm not ashamed. I'm pro-life, and I stand by that. And I do not agree with abortion being used as a form of birth control when we have so many options available for birth control. So I think there are exceptions, and I think that is between the woman, her doctor, and her God. As far as putting it on a constitutional amendment, I don't think that's needed. We already have the most extreme abortion laws in the country up to birth. Who in this room agrees with abortion at 7, 8, and 9 months? They say that they don't need it, but yet they have it. So why? So no, I wouldn't agree to having something put in there because the constitutional is very hard to change. I think you leave it to the legislature, and that's the other thing. We should get back to worrying about fixing the legislature because it is a stacked deck.
David, I'm the only candidate up here endorsed by New Jersey Right to Life and National Right to Life, and that is because I have never wavered nor equivocated.
But Bill, you support
Bill has the floor. Bill has the floor for 1 minute.
Now, one thing that never gets talked about is the other side of it. And the other side of this is that there are so many young women that come from broken families, abusive situations where they don't have resources. Jody and I have spent the last 2 years traveling around this state, going to pregnancy resource centers. And you know what? If you're on the pro-choice side of the aisle, I would hope that you would accept that one of the choices should be bringing a baby and a life into this world. So the answer to your question is no. We already have the most access to abortions. We are the highest abortion state as a per capita around the country. I think it is time to address the choice of bringing a baby into the world and getting those resources behind these pregnancy resource centers so we can help these young women.
If you look at his recent interview with Steve Adubato, it's at phonybill.com, you'll see that he was actually preserving, protecting, guaranteeing a woman's right to choose. I've always supported a woman's right to choose. What I also support is a bill introduced by two of our most conservative state senators called the Pain Threshold Bill that says no abortions after 5 months of pregnancy with reasonable exceptions. I also support, as governor, appointing conservative judges who will support parental notification. A female in this state can't get her ears pursed at 16 and 17 without the permission of her parents, and yet parents are not going to be notified when a 16 or 17-year-old female goes to get an abortion. I don't support that. We need governors, we need judges that are in alignment with my thinking.
So on Sunday night, the quiet night we'll call it, Republicans have been pushing for initiative and referendum for 40 years, and we saw some Democratic candidates say that they would support it. Would you like to, are there issues that you would like to see voters decide, not the legislators and the governor decided for them, but the voters decided themselves? And if there are, just name one that you'd like to see go before the voters, and I'll start with Mr. Spadia.
The voters have to decide who is going to be in the majority of our legislature. The voters have to decide who is going to be the next governor. I think the problem with initiative and referendum is the same thing we see with ballot questions. Who writes it? How is it translated? Usually very confusing, and it's always, almost always been a tool of the insiders, the elites, the professional politicians to get more of our taxpayer dollars. I think it's time that we have a legislature that is held accountable and responsible. You know, we've watched this state devolve over 30 years, both Republicans and Democrats. As I said in my open, woke Democrats pushing radical agendas and spending our money. The budget's almost $60 billion now. Last year, Chris Christie, $35 billion. And weak Republicans who let it happen. I mean, now all of a sudden we go from supporting licenses and subsidies for illegals, and not to mention what you said about police officers while you were in the assembly, saying there were more dangerous jobs than being a police officer, and they volunteered for it, so they're paid too much. I mean, reprehensible stuff. So the voters need to choose better leaders, and that's why I'm presenting myself as a candidate here tonight.
Nobody detests.
We should allow the voters to vote on issues because the Democrats have controlled the legislature for 2 decades. The voice of the public can only be heard through INR, and the first thing we should put on is cap state spending at 2%. We know that the municipalities are capped at 2%. That has significant effect on property taxes. It's now time to allow the voters to vote, and that's why I support INR.
Mr. Chiodovelli, did you want to?
Yes, there is nobody the law enforcement in New Jersey detests more. There's nobody that Donald Trump detests more than Chris Christie. And yet he had him on just prior to the New Hampshire primary, gave him a most favorable 30-minute interview, and is helping him raise money. So come clean whenever you get the chance.
Plug the website, to answer your question, plug the website, Jack. You didn't plug it yet.
Phonybill.com.
Phonybill.com?
Thank you.
Excellent.
Listen.
I'm thinking of buying ads on that website.
So now you've heard. I
don't know.
Jack hates Phil Murphy. He hates Chris Christie. He hates anybody except Jack. Let me tell you something.
So wait.
Here's the deal.
Here's the guy that called 2 million people that voted for Donald Trump crazies in a cult.
Hey, Jack, were you one of those 2 million?
Mr. Civility. Mr. Civility.
Okay, let's give it to John Bramnick, then Jack Chiodovelli, then we're going to Joey. John Bramnick.
When you haven't been in when you've only been in the legislature for a few years or 2 years or no years, you don't understand that the governor signs things. You work with the governor.
That's right, 'cause you had a pizza party with him or a barbecue, right?
Let me let me ask you. Let me ask you about that. Are you supposed to hate the governor because he's of another party? Do you hate your family?
When he's done what he's done, absolutely.
Absolutely,
I hate the governor for what he's done to this state.
Well, that's
and
why
what he's
you
done
lost.
to all the
That's
people.
why you
What he's
lost
done to the
after-
children.
That's why you
Absolutely,
lost
I'm going
after
to hate
2
him.
years. But what's really important is, do you hate someone in your family because they have a different political party? That's one of the.
We're not talking about somebody in my family having a different point of view about a vote. We're talking
As I
about
said,
a guy who's
how many
ruined this
votes did
state,
you lose
who
by
has
6,000?
hurt children, who's hurt families.
You lost by 6,000 votes, and now you're lecturing New Jersey on how to win
We've gotta
elections.
stop the interrupting.
David, I want to answer the
All
question.
right, I'm taking over. I'm taking over right now. Joey Fox is next. You guys have got to stop interrupting each other. You have to stop interrupting each other.
Hell, I didn't even get the question.
Laura, I'd like to answer the question. Okay? The job of the nominee is to work hard to produce seats and produce a majority. When you listen closely to Bramnick and Spady, you never hear them talking about producing a majority because they're all about themselves. I campaigned in all 40 districts, and we had our most successful night in 34 years, flipping 8 seats in the state legislature, including beating the longest sitting state Senate president in the country.
How do you do?
My
You
job
lost
is to
twice.
wait a second.
You lost
My
twice.
job
Now he won.
If I am unsuccessful in producing a majority, I will fight for INR to answer your question on 2 issues: school funding and affordable housing. We need to fix those 2 things. Let the public decide.
Enter final word, then we're going to Joey Fox.
I've
Answer
heard
the
you
question.
say this 1,000 times up and down the state. You were so afraid of Steve Sweeney, you would not come in my district and campaign with me. You wouldn't come to a fundraiser with me. You were afraid of him, and that's how it is. And you know it's the truth.
Well, that's not accurate.
You did not beat Steve Sweeney. I beat Steve Sweeney with the people's help, not you.
I won that district, Ed.
We're moving on to Joey Fox now with the next question.
Laura did say that we could easily debate and devote an entire debate to any one topic, and you guys are very much proving that to be true. So I wanted to ask about New Jersey's current protections for transgender people. It's one of the states, Phil Murphy has positioned it as a state that is very much sort of a haven for a lot of transgender issues, like access to health care and access to sex-segregated spaces and things like that. If you're elected governor, would you seek to roll back any or all of New Jersey's current protections for its transgender residents? I'll go to you, Mr. Chattarelli, first.
I'm not intimately knowledgeable of all of the governor's directives with regard to that population. I will tell you this. My job is to provide for the health and safety of all 9 million citizens. There's not supposed to be any hate. There's not supposed to be any bias. There's not supposed to be any harassment. There's not supposed to be any prejudice or any discrimination. And wherever I find it, I will call it out. So I'm here to protect any and all groups, particularly marginalized groups here in New Jersey, plain and simple.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
Look, Joey, sometime around 7th or 8th grade, we all take biology, and we learn that X and Y means you're a guy. It's simple. There's no confusion there. There will be no males, biological males, competing in female sports. There will be no biological males going into female locker rooms or going into the bathroom with them. I don't care what you do when you're an adult. 18, that's fine. I don't care. But when you're a minor, that is abuse to a child, in my opinion. So no, I will not agree to having these transgender ideas that the governor seems to, and then close out parents having a voice where a kid goes to school and decides one day, instead he's not Johnny, he wants to be Janie. No, that's ridiculous. The parents need to know about their family.
Senator Bramnick?
Well, first, the Republican Party should always have a heart, and we should respect everyone. The transgender community, the gay community, we must show we have a heart. That doesn't mean that we should allow biological males to play in sports as women. But let's make sure that the Republican Party shows respect for the transgender community and shows respect for non-heterosexual people, because we have to show people that we have a heart. Doesn't mean we have to change the law directly as Governor Murphy's done, but we sure have to have a heart.
First of all, there is a huge difference between sexual orientation, sexual preferences, and mental illness. So number one, we have to end the transing of children. Number one, following Donald Trump's lead by his executive order, the same thing would hold in my administration. Second, absolutely spaces in public restrooms, in our prisons, in our hospitals, in our schools should be assigned by your biology. But third, and this gets missed, I think, and I'm not surprised that Jack didn't mention this. That'll give you 30 seconds to plug the website. But parental rights has to be the top priority of the next governor. We have seen the erosion of parental rights at every single level in this state. It is time to put mom and dad back into the picture and make sure that we're protecting kids, because those kids that are going through either confusion or they're acting out or they truly have a disability and a mental situation called gender dysphoria, which is a real thing, we need to go to the caretakers and the parents first. This should not be done in our schools. And I want to stand up for the teachers and the parents, because the teachers don't like this any more than mom and dad likes it.
Joey, you did
Joey's
ask about the.
Joey has a follow-up.
You did ask about the governor's directives. One directive that wasn't his, that he supported, which will be eliminated on day one, was put forth by the current Attorney General, Policy 5756. No school district in this state under my administration, my Attorney General, will be keeping secrets from parents. The welfare of students is best served when they're working in partnership with parents, not in secret with parents.
So a lot of you brought up the ways that this issue overlaps with school policies. Another thing that was the subject of major debate in the last couple of years in the legislature was over book bans, or that's maybe how Democrats would refer to it, or Republicans would refer to it as, preventing pornography in schools. There's lots of different perspectives on this. I'm curious what you guys think about the legislation, the Freedom to Read Act that was passed recently.
One guy voted yes for it.
Absolutely, I voted for that. Next time you should read the legislation before you take a position on it. And here's what that legislation said. Number one, the local... No, you haven't read it. I'm going to explain it to you so you hear it.
John Bramick has
Number one, the local Board of Education will set the policy. Two, it has to be appropriate based on ages, and the parents have a right to appeal. Before this, we had the Wild Wild West. There were no rules whatsoever. Not only that, the most conservative group in Trenton, the Family Council, withdrew all their objections to the bill because we were able to make it appropriate so the local municipality and the boards of education could make that decision. The title of the bill is the only thing you're aware of with respect to that legislation.
The fact that it gives a freedom to the librarians to provide pornography to children.
Well,
it allows inappropriate material in a school library that minors can access.
The Board of Education makes that decision.
We were going for a book ban,
Okay.
and we have restrictions on everything in life. We have restrictions for minors, and that's what this bill went and did. It allowed for minors to have access to inappropriate material.
You better grab the bill, because that's not what it says.
I read the bill.
Well,
I know what it says.
Mr. Doty,
again.
you're continuing to interrupt, and we don't want to have to
again.
mute the microphone. We don't want to have to mute the microphone. We're going to go on to Mr. Chattarelli and Mr. Spadia.
There are 43 Republican legislators in the state legislature, and there's only one that voted for that bill. So what John Bramick is saying is that his 42 Republican colleagues, 45, thank you, Ed.
No, 5 voted for it. 4 assembly and 1 senator.
Okay, well, then what he's saying is that 40 Republican legislators were wrong. Listen, we believe in home rule in this state. This is the domain of the local school board. There is only one public employee that needs, warrants, and deserves immunity, and that is our police, not school librarians, with all due respect.
Mr. Spadia.
So to the question of the bill, I would have vetoed it if I were governor. That's number one. Number two, the idea of home rule does not mean that children and parents in districts where the NJEA has poured millions of dollars and they are pushing their radical agenda, that those kids and those parents and those teachers should be left out to dry. This is what Jack did in the last race, refusing to address parental rights, refusing to say that he would step in to get the masks off the kids, refusing to say that he would step in to stop the forced jab, to stop the forced testing of all the teachers. He was so weak on on this issue that he punted to say home rule. That is an excuse. What New Jersey needs and what New Jersey deserves is a tough, confident, courageous governor who will operate on principle and stand up for moms like Kristen Cobo, who is now being sued by a librarian in Roxbury for rightly pointing out the absolute pornography that is being pushed in the school library.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question with Micah Rasmussen. And let me remind the panel, remind our candidates of the rules of the debate. 1 minute to answer. 45-second follow-up. 45-second follow-up.
New Jersey is the state that's closest to full build-out, which is the point at which all the land in the state that can be developed will be developed. Once that happens, it's going to be too late to make sure that we got it right. So, what must the next governor do, while we still can, to make sure that New Jersey strikes the right balance between homes that families can afford, land-intensive warehouse complexes, and farmland and open space?
Well, clearly we should not be telling municipalities you need to build this many units in your town. That is really poor democratic planning. What we need to do is break this state into three parts: the South, the Central, and the North. And you need broad planning where you can do well, if you're around, which is unlikely. And then make affordable housing in three sections of the state, not doing what they've done, which is creating litigation, imposing incredible strain on infrastructure. This plan of building overdevelopment in towns has been a disaster.
Well, John, you like litigation, right? Ain't that why you passed the bill to up everybody's insurance premiums so that they had to have
I'm glad you
more
raised
lawyers?
that. I'm glad because guys like Durr and Jack, they favor only the insurance company.
No, I favor the citizens of New Jersey, John. That's who I favor.
Well, maybe, but not based on your voting record.
Who ended up profiting off the bill that you
how
and
about
Senate
this?
President Scutari.
So, Mr. When you're interrupting, you're giving him ultimately more time and taking away from the rest of the panel, and we don't want to have to mute your microphone.
You need to stand with the average person and the consumer. My friends to my right will always stand with the insurance companies, especially the health insurance companies that aren't paying your bill, aren't paying the doctor. That's why we have a health care crisis in this state. So you have a choice. You can vote for the guy who's with the consumer or the guys who stand with the insurance companies. That's a clear choice.
Mr. Chitterly.
Phil Murphy's position on affordable housing and the Democratic majority of the past 2.5 decades, what they've allowed to have happen with the overdevelopment of our suburbs and taking Garden right out of the Garden State, with all the overdevelopment, flies in the face of their position on climate change. And just to show you how the special interests in Trenton work, where is the Sierra Club while all this overdevelopment is happening in our suburbs? This is why the election is so important. The governor can appoint, the next governor, a new Supreme Court Chief Justice. That matters. The governor can appoint Superior Court judges that rule in these cases. And hopefully that candidate, and it'll be me, will produce a Republican majority in our state legislature, and we can change the rules of the game. We need to stop the overdevelopment of our suburbs. It's causing stormwater management problems, flooding issues, and all kinds of things that are not consistent with the Democrats' position on sustainability. It needs to stop.
One Supreme Court appointment and waiting for a majority is going to be too late for a lot of New Jersey towns that are suffering under this high-density so-called affordable housing. On day one, we're going to issue a series of executive orders redefining what an affordable housing unit is. There is an enormous opportunity here to lower the number that towns would have to have by 10, 15, 20, even 30% by redefining that. We're talking about hotels that have housed homeless, talking about long-term beds for recovery. We're talking about jail cells in prisons, because we're going to declare a state of emergency and suspend bail reform and start filling those prisons up, because right now the perps are walking free everywhere, and we're going to count those. But number two, we have to go back to trading. We should not be building any affordable housing in an area that doesn't have the transportation or the jobs or the water infrastructure energy infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. We have those places. They're called cities. And we're going to use the builder's escrow, millions and millions of dollars sitting there, to take that money from the suburbs, trade those housing units to the cities, and start building. But you know what? We're not going to get any of that done until we free our business community of the onerous regulations and taxes and start creating jobs. Because if we wait too long, this state will already be gone.
All right, you
Matt
got one
Rooney's
guy.
gonna
You
go.
got one guy who's going to write a bunch of executive orders. You got another guy who's going to wait for a majority that's never going to come, and the other guy who just loves lawyers.
We're going to cut you off, Matt Rooney. You're next. Because we have a lot of questions that we want to get to. And Mr. Durr, we keep interrupting. We don't want to have to mute your microphone. Matt Rooney's
You're not
next.
asking me questions.
He's got one right now.
Here's one right now. We can
He's got
start with Senator Durr. So last month, we witnessed something truly remarkable. 5 New Jersey governors, including 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats, Phil Murphy and Chris Christie were there, sat shoulder to shoulder at a groundbreaking ceremony presided over by Democrat power broker George Norcross III, who is currently battling a racketeering indictment. Observers of New Jersey politics couldn't be blamed for believing this is more evidence of the existence of what some call a deep state, an entrenched and permanent bureaucracy of special interests that crosses party lines, and no matter who wins the election, the same people and interests always seem to remain in power. So my question for you, we could start with Senator Durr. Does New Jersey have a deep state problem? And if so, what would you do to address it?
I'd empower the people because absolutely we have an establishment problem. That's what I told you. We have guys here who are been in the system for years. We have people who've been part of the system who are running other campaigns. This is a cabal, whatever, for lack of a better term, that has controlled New Jersey, and they like the status quo. If you're going to change something, you got to do something different. And I'm the guy who's different. That's the only way you're going to be able to change this state.
Phil Murphy, as a CEO, has been MIA, as has his administration. And when that happens, mid-level bureaucrats in Trenton are running our state agencies, which during his tenure have become a police state and collection agencies instead of partners. I'm a CEO. I'll be a CEO governor that goes to work every single day, as will my administration, and will be dictating how things go in Trenton. But let me say one other thing, too. I've been very fortunate in life due to my hard work. I don't need the job, and I mean that with the utmost humility. But what it means is nobody owns me, unlike people that own this guy. But you don't need to worry about me being owned by any one person. You don't need to worry about me being owned by the special interest. We'll go down to Trenton, and we'll get the job done.
Sounds like you're owned by the person who writes your talking points, because that's what it sounded like to me. So, you talk about Bill Spady being owned by somebody? I mean, get out of town. Here's my question. We have corruptions in this state, so you need to appoint an attorney general who will make sure that he roots out corruption. Same with the United States attorney. But this concept of deep state, those are kind of terms that you throw out there. And what are you talking about? Corruption? Yes, we have corruption, and we need to address that. What kind of deep state? Because someone has been elected to the legislature for a while, all of a sudden they're in a deep state? That's that mythology that I think you hear on cable TV, but it's not reality. Most people in the legislature are hardworking, care about the state, and doing the right thing. So let's get rid of this deep state nonsense.
So you have to ask yourself, why would Jack Chitterelli, who has now plugged this website, 16 or 17 times, he and his corporate lobbyist buddies, guys like Princeton Public Affairs and Kitchen Table Conservatives and all these deep pocket backroom elites, why have they spent now millions of dollars attacking me? You know why? Because I started a group called Elect Common Sense. And Elect Common Sense raised $1 million in 10 months, and our average donation was $11.14 a person. I have a radio show, had one, and thanks, Jack, for trying to get me fired before I was ready to leave. But I have a radio show with more than 1 million listeners.
Not true.
These are real people, divided evenly, by the way, by Democrats a third, Republicans a third, Independents a third. And you know what? And maybe Jack in the back room don't want to hear this, but unlike almost any talk show around the country, 55% of my listeners, women. And when the people speak, I've spent 10 years not just talking as a media host, but listening to the concerns of New Jerseyans, and I've learned a lot. You're learning a lot from up here, and let me tell you something, guys, we can do a lot better.
If I may,
Mr. Rooney has a follow-up.
One of the things, gentlemen,
very quickly, Common Sense Club, he's exploited every single one of those small dollar donors, because if you go to phonybill.com,
17.
You'll see the IRS filings for commonsense.com. And on page 17 of the IRS filings, you'll see that Bill Spadia paid himself $65,000 with all those small dollar donations. Yeah. He paid himself. He didn't disclose that when he was soliciting donations, but that's Bill Spadia. Phony and fraud,
Actually,
Bill Spadia.
actually, Jack, I did disclose it because
On the
first
IRS
of all, Jack doesn't know
On the
the difference.
IRS filing, you
Jack
disclosed
doesn't know
it.
the difference between Common Sense Club, but thank you for plugging that because we have 152,000 members in the Common Sense
On the
Club.
IRS
And
files, he
elect
paid
Common
himself
Sense,
$65,000.
which is our PAC. So let me just say this very
I think it was for
very
12
briefly.
hours of work a week.
So let me explain this very briefly.
The guy's
How
a
many
grifter.
of you have started a business, a startup, a
Then
restaurant,
why does it say
a
payroll?
small shop? How many
Why
of
does
you
it
have
say
done that?
payroll and not?
Okay, I don't think this is productive. This is no longer productive. Matt Rooney has a follow-up.
guys,
No longer
gentlemen,
productive.
one of the few things tonight, one of the few things tonight that's not controversial is that New Jersey has a culture of corruption. So what I'm eager to know, and what the voters are eager to know, we've heard appointing an attorney general who will fight corruption is very important. What else would you do specifically to change that perception?
To prevent me from answering the question.
Bill, would you like to go first?
I want to answer the question. I'm going to take my 30
It wasn't a
seconds
question.
and respond to Jack. So, guys, if you've started a business, you know that starting up a business, it costs sometimes 80, 90, 95 cents on the dollar to get off the ground. We were profitable within 10 months. And you know what I didn't
Profitable?
do?
It's a
What I
nonprofit.
didn't do,
It's a nonprofit.
So our accountant here.
CPAs are honest.
So here's what
CPAs are honest.
Here's
Paid
what we
himself
did.
$65,000.
Bill,
Jack,
finish.
really?
Bill.
Jack, I got to be honest, Jack. You are embarrassing yourself tonight.
I don't
We
think
are trying
the
to
truth
have
is never
a
embarrassing,
civil
Bill.
conversation. Well, why don't I educate you a little bit?
Your IRS
So,
form did that.
Instead of hiring a six-figure executive director to run Common Sense Club, elect Common Sense,
You paid
guys,
yourself.
I did it myself.
Okay.
And you know what I didn't have?
While he was an employee of the radio station.
Bill, wrap it
I
up.
didn't have $65,000 to pull out of my pocket to go around the state, 5-6 events a day, knocking on doors
Okay.
with school board candidates, mayors. So what I did was,
Look at
we
who else he
set-
paid.
We
Look
set
at who else he paid on the
Okay,
IRS form.
we set a cap
We're gonna
on
get back to the
expenses,
question.
and I paid myself back. And guess what? What he's not telling you. The company still owes me $12,000. So that'll
We
be
have a
Before we
student.
move on, would anyone like to answer the question briefly?
Are we back to the corruption question, or is
Yes.
the Jack versus Bill
The
show?
corruption question.
Look, the U.S. attorney has to focus on corruption, and the attorney general has to focus on corruption. That is the only way you're going to root out the deep-seated corruption in this state, shown by people like Bob Menendez.
Matt, Ed?
I was just going to say, you just asked the question prior to that about how you're going to have former governors and then a guy who's indicted all posing together, and then you're asking about corruption. Do you not see the correlation there? Clearly, there's corruption in this state. Nobody cares. Nobody cared about Menendez being corrupt when he was towing the line for the Democrat Party. As soon as he stepped out, that's when they went after him. Anytime you step out, the establishment goes after you, just like they went after me, because I wouldn't toe the line. That's why they went mature and had support against me and primaried me in the election. So this state is crooked as it can be. And you're not going to get it changed by electing the same people who are already crooked.
What's
You need
amazing-
to
We
have
have a
somebody
question.
who's
We have a
different.
question now. We
Who
have a
do you
question now
trust?
from
Wait,
a
Matt,
student
who do you
at Rider
trust?
University.
Can I answer Matt's question on corruption? The Committee for State Investigation CEO just had to resign because she did something corrupt. That's what happens in Phil Murphy's world. I will combine the State Committee of Investigation, whose job it is to investigate fraud in state government, with the state comptroller's office and put it underneath an auditor general to be the equivalent of a Department of Governmental Efficiency and Corruption. That's what we need in the state of New Jersey. We need an auditor general. We've got overlap right now between the state comptroller and the Committee for State Investigations. Combine the two for greater efficiency, put it under one auditor general appointed by me, becomes a cabinet member to ferret out corruption all throughout state government.
Just one quick
Bill Spadia has the final, and then we take a student question.
Is corrupt, and Jack, you're a CPA, so you might
$65,000
even
paying yourself?
understand these numbers. $25 million spent running for governor for now the third time. 2/3 coming from the taxpayers. This man has been unemployed for 9 years, permanently running for governor. If you want more of the same, you got it right here. I think we need something a lot different.
Yeah. Okay, Bill.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we have a student from Rider University with a question coming up. We want you to stay with us as debate night, New Jersey gubernatorial primary continues. Stay with us.
My mom and I talk about everything, from family recipes to health plans. She's my go-to for advice. When I was choosing a plan for Gina and myself, she suggested Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Mom has been a member since before I was born. A lot has changed since then, but Horizon has always been there. They focus on our overall health, including dental and vision plans. My family is what matters most to me, and I have peace of mind knowing that we're covered by Blue.
Whatever your cancer journey, there's one place in New Jersey where our discoveries become your care. You'll have access to advanced treatments, including clinical trials, thanks to our renowned scientists and multidisciplinary teams at New Jersey's only NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, the one world-class cancer program that's close to home. RWJ Barnabas Health and Rutgers Cancer Institute. Let's beat cancer together.
Michael is about to retire.
All right.
Here's what's going into his retirement. Your retirement is the sum of your life's work. Now what? Protect your life's work and help secure and grow your retirement savings with Prudential.
A transformative experience doesn't happen by accident. It's created with purpose. It's built on an engaged learning program that challenges you to go out and create your own opportunities on campus and anywhere else. It empowers you to chart your own course, compete and win at the highest level, and grow into a workforce-ready grad. It's signified by making the most of this pivotal time in your life. How will Rider University transform you?
My mom and I talk about everything, from family recipes to health plans. She's my go-to for advice. When I was choosing a plan for Gina and myself, she suggested Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Mom has been a member since before I was born. A lot has changed since then, but Horizon has always been there. They focus on our overall health, including dental and vision plans. My family is what matters most to me, and I have peace of mind knowing that we're covered by Blue.
Whatever your cancer journey, there's one place in New Jersey where our discoveries become your care. You'll have access to advanced treatments, including clinical trials, thanks to our renowned scientists and multidisciplinary teams at New Jersey's only NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, the one world-class cancer program that's close to home. RWJ Barnabas Health and Rutgers Cancer Institute. Let's beat cancer together.
Michael is about to retire.
All right.
Here's what's going into his retirement. Your retirement is the sum of your life's work. Now what? Protect your life's work and help secure and grow your retirement savings with Prudential.
A transformative experience doesn't happen by accident. It's created with purpose. It's built on an engaged learning program that challenges you to go out and create your own opportunities on campus and anywhere else. It empowers you to chart your own course, compete and win at the highest level, and grow into a workforce-ready grad. It's signified by making the most of this pivotal time in your life. How will Rider University transform you?
Welcome back to the Republican New Jersey gubernatorial debate presented by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. A very spirited evening. I'm going to remind everybody of the rules of the debate. We have 1 minute to answer the question. Not everybody's going to be able to answer every single question, but those who get to follow up have 45 seconds. Now, if you interrupt, we're going to have to count that interruption as your time, just so we can get to as many questions as possible. Our next question is coming from a student here at Rider University, where we are coming to you live from, and that student is Joe Seawald. Joe.
Hello. So, Phil Murphy said he'd fix New Jersey Transit if it killed him, and, well, he's not dead and it's still not fixed. So, what would you have done different on New Jersey Transit if you were governor for the last 8 years? And what is your plan for New Jersey Transit if you are elected this November? Thank you.
Let's go with Bill Spadia first.
Well, first of all, we have to start hiring people who understand transit instead of giving out jobs to people who are politically connected. That's number one. Number two, why are we always talking about throwing money at New Jersey Transit instead of actually fixing the problem of logistics? Why do you have buses running in the middle of the night with no one on it? Why does New Jersey Transit sit on so many acres of land that could be monetized for ratables to our local communities? We need a transportation expert to come in and actually manage the transportation system. Too often, it's easy for NJ Transit to blame Amtrak for delays instead of saying, why don't we dig deep? And instead of focusing what Phil Murphy focused on, let's convert our buses to EVs, we ought to be focusing on making sure the buses are on time and they're efficient. There's a company that is doing an amazing job called Boxcar, and this is now a private commuter bus service that could easily become a part of a public-private partnership to alleviate some of the burden on the government and get our transit system operating more efficiently.
Jack
New Jersey Transit trains run on rails owned by Amtrak. And on this issue, like congestion pricing, our 2 U.S. senators have been MIA. As governor, I'd be leaning hard on our U.S. senators to get the federal Amtrak system and its rails in shape so New Jersey Transit can run better. I also believe that part of my restructuring of mass transit systems in New Jersey is we'll put them all under one roof. I believe the Turnpike, the Parkway, and Transit should all be under one authority, the Garden State Transportation Authority, with people appointed by me that know what they're doing to get the job done. But we need to lean on our 2 U.S. senators who are MIA on this as they are on congestion pricing.
Edgar.
Look, where I'm from, they're talking about building a rail line from Camden to Glassboro. Why would we even do that when we can't get the trains to run on time that are existing? For as long as I can remember, transit's been a problem. But nobody seems to want to address the real issue, is we have the same guys doing the same thing over and over, and nobody's getting in there and fixing the problem. And that's what I would do when I'm governor. I will address the problem. I will have access to the best and brightest minds, and we will solve this issue, and we will have people getting the train ride on time.
John Bramnick.
The problem is the infrastructure. We pay millions to Amtrak, and we get no change in infrastructure. I am telling you that there's nothing you can do to fix New Jersey transit unless the infrastructure is changed. Recently, about $300 million came in to try to help with the overhanging wires. The bottom line is, unless the federal government gives us a boatload of money, and we need to fight for that, this cannot be fixed. I've spoken to every prior governor about this. I spoke to Chris Calori about this. This is a federal situation that must be fixed.
David Wildstein has the next question.
Thank you. You all seem to be having a great time tonight, so thanks. The Trump administration is taking steps to defund and dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. He wants to do it from within. If you're elected governor, will you seek to do the same thing at the New Jersey Department of Education? I'll start with Assemblyman Chitterelli.
I don't think we need more than a couple dozen people, David, to set the standards for what aptitude is for our children here in New Jersey. And at the end of the day, what matters most to a child's education is their teacher and their parents' role. So all these people that we have, thousands upon thousands, working in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Education, also here in New Jersey, why? How many people does it take to establish the standards for what reading and math and aptitude should be for any child throughout their K through 12? Let's establish those standards. Let's provide for a curriculum as promulgated by a state board of education appointed by Governor Chitterelli. And then let's hope that our local school boards, in partnership with parents and teachers, can get the job done on behalf of our parents. I don't know why we need thousands upon thousands of people working at the federal and state level to do that, to improve our educational system. But the other thing that we need in this state, which I support, is school choice. Where a school system is failing, people ought to have a choice. Vouchers, charter schools, and the like. We've seen none of that under Phil Murphy because he's owned by the NJEA.
So, David, I'll go with the if you don't mind. First of all, I'm not so sure my opponent.
Of course.
Thank you. I don't know that my opponent really understands what school choice means. Let's talk about it in detail. First of all, we need education savings accounts in New Jersey. We need a Department of Education that reflects the diverse sources of education involving homeschooling and microschooling, and yes, charter schools. But I'm not sure that Jack understands the reason that we need to empower the charter schools is because the only way we're going to get property taxes down is we have to lower the cost of education. I live in Princeton, and my wife and I love this town. We moved there because the schools were great. And you know what? The schools in Princeton, it costs about $18,000 to educate one kid. In the charter schools, it costs about $12,000. So on average, we're talking about 2/3 of the cost. In Newark, New Jersey, you're spending more than $1 billion, and 9 out of 10 children cannot do math at grade level. So what do we need to do? We need to take those 4,000 kids and get them out of that failing school.
Not the radio, Bill. Not the radio.
We need to leave successful schools alone. The meddling of the Department of Education in good schools, making it harder and harder for teachers to teach because of all of the mandates that come down from the Department of Education. Department of Education should be focusing on the schools that are not successful and leaving the successful schools alone. They're doing just fine. I would make sure that my Department of Education would focus on those schools that are failing and put the mandates on them, not on the successful schools.
I agree with Jack here. We have too much bloat in our Department of Education. But what we really have is a power that is corrupt, the NJEA. And I love the good teachers, but I don't think good teachers want their union dues going to support a guy who's running for governor or a guy who goes and thinks that he should be able to mass children in school just because he's afraid of a bug. So, yes, I think that the New Jersey's state government, the Board of Education, needs to be changed and brought back down to the home rule. And it's vouchers, Bill, that we need to support. We have to support vouchers because that is actually the way the money will follow the child on school choice.
Laura, what we also need with regard to taxes schools is a new school funding formula. That is the only way to lower taxes. The school portion tax of our property tax bill with a new school funding formula. We'll get one under Chitterelli. But it's interesting that Bill should mention Princeton. This is his 3rd time running for office. He's a 2-time loser, still has outstanding debts from the previous runs. Every single time he's run, the Republicans that know him best, the Princeton Republicans, have not endorsed him.
I
They've
saw they
endorsed
endorsed
me.
you the other day.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
The people that know him best.
Jack's talking about two-time losers?
The
Really?
people that know him best.
Let me, Assemblyman, let me
Yep.
go with that, and let me ask a follow-up to you. You say we need a new school funding formula
We do.
in New Jersey. Tell me what that looks like.
Here's what it looks like under Governor Cettarelli. First and foremost, the state has to take over the cost of special education. Local school districts can no longer afford on their own to do special education, and there should not be disparity in the quality of special education from one district to the next. The state has to take over the cost of special education. And then every district should get X for every English-speaking student, Y for every English language learner, and then each school district needs to be within a reasonable range on their cost per pupil. And if they are not, they will lose state aid. There's no reason why the cost per pupil in Newark should be $34,000 per student, while in the town that I came from, Hillsborough, it was $16,000 per student. No one's ever going to justify that to me. And that's the argument that needs to be made before the Supreme Court, because I believe it violates the Equal Benefit Clause of our state constitution.
You know, the biggest threat to our schools now is there is a case pending that is going to take away your local school, meaning that your child in the first or second grade may be subject to be bused 10 miles away. And the Murphy administration and the Democrats are not talking about that. If we don't get a Republican governor in 2026, you know what's going to happen? They are going to take away your local school based on the case that's existing now.
So a couple things on school funding. First of all, one of the biggest drains and the reason that we are not effectively funding a lot of special education is because we have 900,000 illegals in our state. And we don't know how many hundreds of thousands of these kids are into school districts that the school district just has to accommodate. So you've got to do a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to go back to education savings accounts, which do give parents choice, which allows their money to follow the child, but at the same time empowers the local public schools. Now, once you start to lower the cost, and you know, Jack is fond of this home rule thing. It's a nice talking point and a soundbite, but here's the reality. The NJEA runs so many of our local school boards that our parents and kids are left out to dry. We're not getting a return on investment. First thing we need to do is cap property taxes, and I've got a plan to do that to make sure that the districts live within their budgets.
Ed Durr, and then we go to Joey.
Okay, this is the thing that nobody's talking about. We have way too many districts in this state. We have actually a district that doesn't even have school in Hynella. And this is the bloat that New Jersey has. We have a waste of money. So this addresses your property tax. This addresses the funding issue. Absolutely, we have to get rid of the school funding formula because it is flawed. And if we have to sue to make it happen, we will do it under my administration because the bloat in this state is ridiculous. Again, we are going from a $35 billion budget. We're now at a $57 billion budget. And I think you remember the other night, they saying if we keep the course, we're going to be at $90 billion. We have to cut the spending.
Another
Joey
guy
Fox
wants
is
to
next.
take away your local school.
Joey Fox is next.
So I don't want any words on the first part of this question. I just want you to raise your hands if you think that taxes in New Jersey are too high. Okay, so I see 4 hands. So I want to flip that question around and ask, are there any contexts in which you think that raising taxes would be a good idea? Are there any people or companies or groups in New Jersey where you think that the taxes are not high enough right now?
I would raise taxes on the Democratic legislature if they raised taxes. And, you know, there was an old comedian who used to say, you know, we'll give you a break if you give the consumers a break. And the Democrats have never seen a tax they don't love.
He might have an idea there since they gave themselves a raise in the legislature. So maybe giving them an extra tax wouldn't hurt. But no, I don't think that we need to tax more. We need to spend better. That's the problem. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. This state tends to throw away money on frivolous things. Bill is right. We have too many illegals here, and they drain on our services. So we have to address that. We have to stop the waste of money that goes on in this state. And that's where you'll end up saving. So no, we don't need to tax more. We need to take taxing off.
New Jersey individuals and New Jersey businesses face the highest overall tax burden in the country. And so in part, Joey, I'd like to answer your question with a question. How is it Pennsylvania can lower its business tax from 10 to 5%? And ours increased as of last July 1st from 9 to 11.5, the highest in the nation. How is it that Pennsylvania can have a 3% flat tax for all individuals, and yet we've got 8 brackets that go up to 11%, the second highest in the nation? If Pennsylvania can do it, we can do. But I do believe at one point in time you suggested a sales tax increase that was an $800 million tax increase for state government.
Anyway, Joey, I'd like to address your question first. Maybe what Jack is referring to is my opposition to the gas tax, which was to me, a complete boondoggle. But let's move on from that. You want to plug the website one more time, Jack?
No, but I am going to tell him about your support for Kim Guadagno.
Yeah, I did support Kim. Okay, proud of that. She's a friend of mine.
And
I thought she was a damn good lieutenant governor. So let me address your question.
With your help, John.
Here's the issue about taxes in this state.
Because we knew you
taxes
couldn't
in this
Well, we
state.
saw how that worked out.
And we have to put time back on the
When
clock.
we talk about taxes in this state, we have a long history of both Republicans and Democrats not understanding how to effectively use tax cuts. Tax cuts should be used with a return on investment. When taxes are lowered, whether it's the rates on NJ bait, which more small businesses should be encouraged to take advantage of, lowering the CBT, absolutely that it should be much lower than our neighbors, and that's how we attract businesses in. The problem is that the pundits and the Democrats and many of these weak Republicans look at it as static, that the minute I lower taxes, I lose that revenue. No, we should look at it as an incentive to create jobs, create businesses, and bring them in. But I'm going to directly answer your question, Joey. There is one tax that I do think should be increased, and that is that the legislature punted on the electric vehicle surcharge of $250. When you ask firefighters across this state if they are equipped and ready for these EV fires that burn sometimes for 8, 12 hours, costing 30,000 gallons of water, they'll tell you, no, we need more funding for that. So I want to know why the gas-powered cars are paying the gas tax, paying everything that the EVs are not paying. $250, way too low. It ought to be $1,000 at least.
So, Mr. Spady, I want to stick with you for one quick follow-up, which is something that we also brought up at the Democratic debate a couple of nights ago. One of the biggest expenditures from the state budget is on funding the state pension system. And I wanted to ask the 4 candidates here, all of the Democrats essentially committed that they would continue to fund the state, fully fund the state pension system, despite the fact that it is such a drain on the budget. Will you 4 also commit to that, or do you think that needs to be reconsidered?
No, it absolutely needs to be reconsidered. It's a $7 billion drain. And we have a roadmap. It's called Act 10. It was passed in Wisconsin. We go back 14 years. Governor Scott Walker was able to lead the charge to take a $3.6 billion deficit, turn it into a $900 million surplus. And by the way, teachers got an increase in pay. It's a huge drain. We need to draw the line. We need to talk about 403B plans. We need to make sure that our teachers who are in the system at a point where they're nearing retirement are made whole. But as far as the entire system, teachers and state workers, but I'll tell you this, we're going to separate out the cops and firefighters because I fully support a cost of living adjustment for our hero first responders.
Well, we have to.
Bottom line is this, Joey.
by
Anybody
law-
who's earned a pension will be paid their pension. That promise has to be fulfilled. If you've earned a pension, you've got to be paid a pension. And I, too, support a COLA increase for our cops, particularly if we set the right criteria. I'm not talking about, nor are the cops, someone that retired yesterday. But if somebody retired more than X number of years ago, is above a certain age, and their pension is below a certain amount, based on what inflation has done to their purchasing power, they need to have their COLA. And what a lot of people don't realize is our law enforcement community does not get Social Security. Their only source of income in retirement is their pension. So let's come up with a criteria that we can all agree on and reestablish the COLA. But anybody who's earned a pension,
a new law that opens
the federal
that's for
government
cops,
just,
Bill,
the federal government
that's for
just
cops that have
changed the law.
retired. That's for cops that have already retired.
John Bramnick is next.
Let's be clear.
My God.
That the law requires us, when people are in the pension for a certain period of time, to get their pension. Those are promises that legislatures and governors have made for years. I commit to fulfill that promise. Now, new people in the system, we should seriously consider alternatives to our present pension system. But to stand up here and say you're not going to fulfill a commitment to teachers and law enforcement, I think is the wrong policy. And let's be 100% clear. I am a co-sponsor of that COLA legislation because we told police and fire years ago, when money became available, we were going to reenact COLA. We haven't done it, and that is a real mistake.
Joey, absolutely, we should honor the commitments we made to the men and women who earn those pensions. But as John said, yes, we have to consider the new hires, and we have to come up with another format. And as far as COLA goes, for all the men and women out there who are seeking the COLA, understand that this has been an issue, and you've had a Democrat-controlled legislator who could have passed it at any time and has refused to. So remember that when you're going to the ballot box, because it's the Democrats who refuse to pass COLA, not the Republicans.
Funny, Jack started supporting COLA after he heard me talking about it on the radio. And beyond that, this is a man, if you're a police officer, you need to hear this. This is a man who thinks there are more dangerous jobs than being a police officer, and they pay more. His words. And beyond that, you volunteered for it. Boy, Jack, I wonder how you would deliver that message to a husband or a wife or a child or a mother or a father of a fallen police officer. Really reprehensible.
My Army captain's son will be deployed to the Middle East on February 19th. And so listen, when he says that
are you
all of a
walking back
sudden
your
that my
statement?
positions are because he said it first, it's just another lie. You can't go to phonybill.com on that one, but I'm here to tell you it's a lie.
We're going to go next to Micah Rasmussen.
All of you have raised your own concerns and differences with some of the public health measures used by New Jersey to prevent the spread of COVID, which of course included lockdowns, school shutdowns, and vaccine mandates. If another epidemic or public health crisis were to strike while you were in office, what are the ways New Jersey would prevent its spread instead? We know exactly what you would not do, but what are the steps that New Jersey would take to respond to stop the spread in the public health crisis?
I would follow science. You know, I wouldn't follow somebody on the internet in some other country who made some comment on the internet. When COVID hit, it was a nightmare in hospitals. Beds were not available. Immediately, action had to be taken. If I and when I am the governor, I am going to bring in infectious disease experts and people with science backgrounds, not people from the internet. I believe in science, and you want a governor who believes in science. You don't want some partisan governor who's going to make decisions based on some constituent or somebody on the internet. This is really, really important part of being a governor. Follow the science. And that's what we did for a limited period of time. One other issue on that. Governor Murphy continued to extend a state of emergency without any input whatsoever from the public or from the legislature. We tried to pass legislation. When you do a state of emergency, you need to have public input. That was a major failure.
One thing I wouldn't do is do what Governor Murphy did. Absolutely. I wouldn't put sick patients in a nursing home or veterans home and cause 15,000 deaths that you agreed with his attorney general that he could be an attorney general because he was the one who gave Governor Murphy that possibility. I would agree. Follow the science, but I also would allow the people to decide what's best for them. They are adults. They know how to deal with themselves. Locking down a state was wrong. Taking kids out of school was wrong. Masking people and telling them they have to take a shot was wrong. Taking their jobs away from them was wrong. So no, just because somebody says something, and whether it be on the internet or be the doctors standing next to you like Dr. Fauci was and saying that, it was wrong. So you have to let people do their own choice because that's what this country's about, freedom.
Jack Ciattarelli.
I think the governor has to strike the right balance between public safety and keeping things as open as possible so that we don't harm our economy or do what this governor did. You'll often hear that the New Jersey governor is the most powerful in the nation by state constitution, and that's true. But if we learned anything from the pandemic, maybe too powerful. 212 executive orders, running government by fiat with no impact for the legislature. This is the guy that opened up nursing homes and closed our schools, killed veterans in our nursing homes, destroyed businesses, particularly on Main Street, 2 years of learning loss. The children, the people least susceptible to the virus were shut out from their schools for a second year, and we're still recovering from the learning loss. I think the governor has to strike the right balance based on what the information is available. Look at the difference between what happened in New Jersey and what happened in Florida. The governor's job is to strike the right balance. As for the vaccinations and the masks, I'm a live and let live guy, okay? You want to wear a mask? Wear a mask. You want to get vaccinated? Get vaccinated. It's your life to live.
Time's up. Bill Spadea.
Let me tell you what I'm going to do on day one. We're going to get retroactive pay and reinstate all of those corrections officers, nurses, and everybody else that was fired because they did not submit to the tyranny of the mask and the forced jabs. By the way, the lockdown, the jabs, the masks, this guy supported it.
That's a lie.
Supported all of it.
That is a lie.
Jack, silence is complicit.
That is a
said
lie.
nothing. While I was on the air every single day, and I don't have to tell anybody here, if you listen to me, you know, not only did I stay away from that poison jab, but I fought hard for medical freedom for families to make decisions on their own.
Live
a
and let
governor
live.
has to be, live and let live for all those corrections officers that were fired, all those businesses that were closed, all those bank accounts that were seized. Really, live and let live?
You just
I think we ought to
disrespected
have-
millions of
I think we-
Americans who decided to
Who
get
what?
millions of New Jerseyans who decided to get the vaccine.
Who decided?
You just
who were-
disrespected them.
I speak for the parents and the families and the nurses and the firefighters
You think you
and
do.
the cops who did not want to go near this experimental jab, but were forced to, faced with that impossible decision of, do I lose my job and I can't pay my bills, or do I comply with this tyranny?
Jack, 15
and sadly,
seconds, and then-
Jack was silent on all of it, refusing, by the way, to stand with the Newark firefighters when they asked him during the campaign in 2021 to come and stand. You know what he did? He called us yelling that we didn't give him enough time to get to the rally. Jack, I remember that call.
This is an indecent man who cannot bring himself to say the truth. He's a phony who will say anything to anybody at any point in time to gain favor and win their vote. Go back to
what I said wasn't true?
Go back to the record
What
of
part
the
of what I said wasn't true?
2021
Let's try
campaign
again.
when I said no mask mandates, no vaccine mandates, and nobody should lose their job because they decide not to get vaccinated. That's the truth.
And now live and let live, huh?
Bill, I
Let
just
him
want to
suffer.
ask you a question. You said complicit. If you are silent, you're complicit, right? That's what you said. So when you're silent to a senator who is an abortionist, who is against the children, who has a school policy, 5756, the Freedom to Read Act, but yet you say you stand with
talking about? You talking about
Bingo
this
Pal.
guy over
You
here?
support
Oh,
Bingo
Bingo
Pal, who signs for abortion
You know
up to
what?
birth.
He wasn't silent.
You
He
know what's
endorsed
funny?
He
You know what's
endorsed
funny?
them. That's
endorsed
right.
Vin Capello
So
on
if
the air.
silence is complicit, then you're complicit. So how do you call yourself
I would love
a
to take
pro-life
a show of
individual?
hands
How do you
of
call
anybody
yourself
who
a pro
actually
family?
thinks I endorsed Vin Gopal. As a matter of fact,
You went to his
the
fundraiser.
opposite
Bill,
is
we
true.
sat it.
Okay,
Not
all right.
only-
This is not
Guys.
productive. This is not productive. We're going to move on. We are going to move on. Matt Rooney has the next question. Matt Rooney.
Thank you,
has the next question.
Laura. We can start with Assemblyman Chitterelli on this one. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, initiatives are rapidly falling out of favor in corporate America. Now President Donald Trump is moving aggressively to dismantle DEI programs and offices within the federal government and those financed by our tax dollars elsewhere, including $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbian workplaces, and $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland, which might almost be as entertaining as this debate. So if elected governor, would you be similarly aggressive in eliminating DEI in New Jersey state government, and what would it look like?
Donald Trump is doing what he's doing because this is what the people of this country want. Even in California, the deep blue state of California, the liberal state of California, twice over, referenda on affirmative action have been voted down. I believe that DEI is affirmative action on steroids. We are a meritocracy, okay? We want to provide equal opportunity, but not equal outcomes. And so I believe what the president is doing is right, and you're seeing it all across corporate America and all the other spaces across the country. Like everything else that's happened during the Phil Murphy era, the pendulum swung too far. It became way too liberal and unfair in many other ways. So I'm opposed to I support the president, what he's doing on DEI.
So, Matt, to that point, two things. Funny hearing this from Jack Ciattarelli, who actually said at a college speech that he lost in 21 because his campaign was, quote, too white. He said it. So I'm not so sure he's credible to even answer that question. But I'll tell you what I'll do. Executive order and end DEI. End it. We're going to follow the president's lead and issue the executive orders that rip out this absolutely racist institution which kills productivity and denies qualified workers a job.
DEI is a problem in this country. Donald Trump has started the ball rolling, and it will continue in New Jersey under Governor Durr. We are a meritocracy, absolutely. It's from day one, we all know the harder you work, the more you get, the better things get in life. Why should that change just because you get into government? It shouldn't. So we're going to go by that rule in my administration.
John Bramnick.
Hiring should be based on qualifications and the ability to perform as an employee, period.
All right, we're going on to David Wildstein.
Yes, we're running out of time, so I'm going to go quick, and if it's okay with everybody, let's cut it down to 30 seconds. I know that's not easy, but state officials and local officials have been battling the Supreme Court's Mount Laurel decision since the 1970s, and it seems like everybody's running in place. It's still a hotbed issue today. It's gone through 9 different governors without some officials being satisfied. Can you say if you're comfortable with the new fair share housing law that was passed last year, or do you have a better mousetrap to fix this so that we're not talking about this?
Yes,
in
better
30
mousetrap,
in 30
David,
years.
is to sue and get that overturned. The Mount Laurel decision is wrong, and we should let the communities decide how they want to do.
The Democrats passed that bill with no Republican support. We need to go back to the Supreme Court. We have new Supreme Court justices now, 2 people that I supported heavily. We need to go back to the Supreme Court. It's very different than it was 30 or 40 years ago under Mount Laurel. We need rulings that change what the requirements are with respect to affordable housing. Day one, I will sit down with the Democratic leadership because you know the Senate is still going to be Democratic, and that's going to be priority number 1 or 2, that we're going to sit down and we're going to make sure that we don't overdevelop these suburban areas.
The next governor, and I hope it's me with the support of the Republican primary voters, gets to appoint the next Supreme Court Chief Justice. That's a big deal. The governor of this state gets to appoint Superior Court justices. We just lost another Mount Laurel case 2 weeks ago before a Superior Court judge. We need Republican legislators. That's what this campaign is all about. As for the better mousetrap, I'd like to see us come back with RCAs, Regional Contribution Agreements. They worked before, they can work again.
I can't believe it, but I agree with that point.
But here's the problem. You can't wait to replace the Supreme Court. You can't wait to let it drag through the court system. You can't wait till we have legislative action. The governor in New Jersey has the most executive power of any governor in the country, and I intend to use it on day one. We have 5 executive orders ready to restore the RCA trading agreements and redefine what a housing unit is. And we're going to move these housing units into our cities. Our suburban towns, our middle-class communities need relief today. And by the way, losing that court case a couple of weeks ago, the judge gave us the opportunity to declare a housing emergency because they said it in the ruling. So we're just going to do it a different way. And instead of following through with what they want, we're going to stop it in its tracks and lock it up.
So we're going to go from one governor ruling by fiat to another governor ruling by fiat.
That's an answer by a radio announcer who's never spent one day in the legislature. Let me just tell you how it works. You need 41 votes in the Assembly, 21 votes in the Senate, and the governor needs to sign it. And you know what the court's going to say to Mr. Spadea? Guess what? You can sign whatever you want, but that's not constitutional. I would like to do what you're saying, just can't do it.
All right, we're going to go on to Joey for our final question before closing statements.
Yeah, so I've got the last question of the debate, and I want to sort of hone in on something that we've all danced around a little bit tonight, which is winning this race. So, Mr. Spadia, you've run for office a couple of times. You haven't been successful. Mr. Chitterelli, you ran for governor twice. You did not win either time. Mr. Durr, you lost your state Senate seat in 2023. Mr. Bramnick, you have not lost your state Senate seat, but you've never run outside of your particular area of New Jersey. You're not tested anywhere but that particular area. So I want to ask, New Jersey Republicans are really hungry for a win. They've been in the wilderness since Chris Christie left office, and I just want to ask each of you, how are you going to make that happen? So I'll start with you, Mr. Spadia.
So my losses are funny because I ran for Congress 20 years ago and I did lose. You know why? I was the only guy that stepped up in a 3-to-1 Democratic district to take on an incumbent congressman, and we doubled our percentage by knocking on 17,000 doors from 20 to 40 in just 5 weeks. So I learned a lot from that. The other time was a convention for a special election, and sure, I lost. I wasn't the insider. Ask this guy about that. But to your question, the next governor who will be successful as a Republican has to do one thing: capitalize on the momentum that Donald Trump has given us in New Jersey. 5 points. We now know that Donald Trump appeals to Hispanic voters, black voters, blue-collar workers. Donald Trump showed us the pathway to victory, and the right way to handle this is to run that style campaign. Listen, I've said this before on the air for the last 10 years. I've been listening to you, and I've been speaking to you, and I know the problems and how to solve them, but we've got to run a tough campaign and appeal to Democrats, independents, and middle class and working class voters. And that's what I'll be able to do.
Best question of the night, because guess what? Nothing changes unless you win. You say, I didn't run outside of my district. Well, let me tell you about my district. My district has 7,000 more Democrats than Republicans, has 72% of independent voters and Democrats. I won that by 7 points. Kamala Harris won that by 12 points. That's a microcosm of the state. The people in this state don't want a lot of yelling back and forth. They want someone who's going to listen and lead, not just scream at each other. They want a Republican with a heart. They want a Republican who's going to care about everyone in the state, and that's how I'm going to win, by caring about everyone, but bringing my Republican values to the state of New Jersey.
In 2021, when I was out busting my ass up and down the state 8 days a week in all districts, this guy was entertaining Phil Murphy in his backyard over a barbecue and putting it on the internet. This guy was on the radio every day saying he couldn't pull the lever for Chitterelli. And if you're voting for Chitterelli just because he's better than Phil Murphy, don't bother voting. We need someone who's going to unify our party. Donald Trump did it on Election Day. I did it to the best of my ability in 2021. I'll do it again here in 2025. And by the way, going into November 2021, my record on Election Day, yours 0-2. I was 7-0. Twice in a municipality, twice in a county, 3 times in a legislative district, term limiting myself every single time. He never talks about that. Term limiting myself every single time.
We call that Jack a professional politician. That's the problem.
You're a professional liar.
That's the problem.
In a municipality, a county, and a district where Democrats outnumber Republicans, because I go out and I talk about the issues that matter to most people.
So first of all, we wouldn't even be here if Jack Chitterelli had the guts to bring President Trump
Talk
here in
about
21.
the guts.
Do you know
neither one of
that
these guys
Are you
stepped
gonna-
up to run for governor in 2021? They sat in the cheap
Yeah.
seats and criticized the
Well, you know
campaign
what,
every day of the
Jack?
week.
I'm here
They didn't have
now.
the backbone to run in 2021.
Jack, I'm here now,
but here they are now.
and that's why you're running scared.
Here they are now.
and spending millions of
Yeah.
dollars
Where
to lie
were
about
they
me.
in 21?
That's why.
Where
Yeah.
were they in 21?
Look, here's the bottom line.
Where were you in 21?
Jack Chitterelli.
You didn't have the backbone to run in 21. You didn't have the backbone to run in 21.
And refused to bring him into the state. Said he would win it on his own, to the point where Donald Trump himself came on my show. And what did he say about you, Jack? He said that guy really thought he was some hot stuff. You know what really happened? We had 6 out of 10 voters stay home in 21 because we had such a weak candidate.
I'm going to stop in here.
We'll do better this time,
We're going to
yeah.
go to Ed Durr, and then Joey has a follow-up before
All right.
closing statements. Ed Durr.
Here you go, Joey. Establishment. You got longtime career politicians and you got establishment light. Things aren't going to change unless you change who's running. In 2021, I defeated the Senate President, Steve Sweeney. You did not show up in my district or campaign with me. You felt that it was a losing battle. You even pulled resources. And if you don't believe me, ask Commissioner Conowell sitting right there. The only way we're going to win is by doing something different, and I'm the guy. I'm different because I'm fighting for you. And they don't want a person who's equal to that, you people. They want their own picks, their establishment picks, or their establishment light. So the only way to win is by going with somebody different, and I will win.
So I've got another hand-raised question, which I know is everybody's favorite. It's something that Mr. Spadia just brought up. I'd like you to raise your hand if you win the Republican primary, you would welcome President Trump into New Jersey to campaign with you. So I'll go to you, Mr. Bramnick, because I think that is it's a more notable answer from you than from some of your peers. Why?
Here's why. I do it because I respect the office of the presidency. As the President of the United States, he hasn't done just bad stuff. He's done some good stuff. Everyone knows I'm not his biggest fan, but when a president does something that's good for New Jersey, I will support him. But I'm also the only one on this dais tonight who will stand up when the president does something that's not good for New Jersey. I don't fear standing up against people in my own party. But if the President of the United States is going to come into this state to support the Republican candidate, I will welcome him. Doesn't mean I agree with everything he does or everything he says. And I'm not sure he's coming in to support me if I stand up and say, hey, listen, I'm not 100% with everything you do. For example, January 6th. Wait a minute, just a minute.
Oh, Jesus.
We are the, well, let me tell you something. As governor, you have to speak the truth. Let's talk about that. He pardoned everyone. Now, including, that's fine. That's right. He even pardoned people who violently attacked police officers. And let me make this clear. Either we're the party of law and order or we're not. So you can clap, you can boo, whatever you want. But I will stand with police officers every time.
Okay, unfortunately, we are out of time. It is time now to go to our closing statements. Now, that order was determined by another draw. Bill Spadia, you are first, followed by Jack Chittarelli, John Bramnick, and then Ed Durr. Bill Spadia, to you.
Thank you, Laura. Boy, you listen to these guys tonight, and you really get the feeling that seeking political power is like a drug. I'm going to commit to you tonight to serve one term as your governor, because we have to separate the politics of re-election from the job of governing. And when you look at what has to happen in this state, a lot of unpopular political decisions will be made. It's going to be a tough road, and that's why I make that commitment. Now, who do we need to elect? Well, we got to get through this primary. I'm the only one that appeals to Democrats because I haven't given up my principles to do it. I am a strong pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-law enforcement, pro-parental rights conservative with common sense. Now, John, I'm going to give you some credit. At least John Bramnick, when he goes after President Trump and says he doesn't like him, he's being honest. Unlike Jack Chittarelli, who is a liar. This is a man who didn't vote for Trump, who didn't advocate for Trump, who didn't want him in the state, and got behind two never-Trumpers in the 2024 primary, Chris Christie and Nikki Haley, writing 2 checks for a lot of money to Chris Christie. Now, I'm up here asking for your vote because I'll tell you guys, we could do more of the same, and it's any one of these guys. I'm different. I'm common sense grounded. I am one of you, and we're in this fight together, and I humbly ask for your support. I want to serve as your governor.
Jack Chittarelli, you're next.
What Bill Spadia did when Chris Christie was trying to qualify for the New Hampshire primary is he had him on the radio show, gave him a very favorable 30-minute interview, and tried to help him raise money to qualify for the presidential primary. That's when Donald Trump was running for president. When Donald Trump was running for president, you said he was beaten, he was tired, he lacked courage, he lacked commitment. He should have resigned and let Joe Biden finish the job. He was a failure, and you were endorsing Ron DeSantis. John Bramnick said he would drop out of this race if Donald Trump won.
New Jersey.
Okay. We've got crises in this state, and we need a serious candidate. A serious candidate who brings very positive energy to campaign, is going to get up and down the state, and unlike my 2 opponents, raise the money necessary to win the election. There's only one candidate that's been able to do that. It's Jack Chittarelli. I hope to have the support and vote of Republican primary voters.
John Bramnick.
Thank you. The facts are still the facts. My friend Bill Spadea hasn't won an election. He's lost elections. Jack has already been rejected by the voters on 2 occasions, so it doesn't make sense to go back for a 3rd time when they've already rejected him. My friend Ed the trucker, he came in for 2 years and then he lost. I have a consistent record of winning in districts that are dominated by Democrats and dominated by independent voters. And the reason is because I say it the way it is. I don't simply change my views the way Jack Ciattarelli does, depending on which year it is. I don't go out on the internet and read something and that becomes my philosophy. I rely on science. People trust me because I will tell you the truth, whether or not it fits the partisan agenda at that time. I will win the general election in November without any doubt by more than 10 points. Thank you.
Ed Durr.
Thank you again for having tonight's debate. And I'm sorry I didn't bring any popcorn for the rest of the folks. For those of you who don't remember me, I'm the guy who defeated the Senate president. And I plan on shocking the establishment again by becoming governor with your help. It's no secret, New Jersey has an affordability problem. I'm a regular guy. I'm just like you. And the working class has been getting crushed by high taxes in New Jersey. Democrats don't know how to fix it, and the establishment don't want to fix it. The only way to fix New Jersey is by doing something different. And I'm different. As governor, I will have access to the best and brightest minds New Jersey has to offer, and working together, we will solve New Jersey's affordability crisis. Comes down to this. Who do you trust? The establishment or somebody just like you, Ed the Trucker? Go to edthetrucker.com and learn more. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you all. That concludes the Republican New Jersey gubernatorial primary debate. I would like to thank all of the candidates for their time and responses. Thank you to the panelists, David Wildstein, Micah Rasmussen, Joey Fox, and Mac Rooney. Thank you to Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey for presenting this debate, and RWJ Barnabas Health, Prudential, and McCarter and English for sponsoring this debate. This evening's debate was produced by the New Jersey Globe, On New Jersey, and Rider University and Save Jersey. I'm Laura Jones. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, primary election day in New Jersey is June 10th.
My mom and I talk about everything, from family recipes to health plans. She's my go-to for advice. When I was choosing a plan for Gina and myself, she suggested Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Mom has been a member since before I was born. A lot has changed since then, but Horizon has always been there. They focus on our overall health, including dental and vision plans. My family is what matters most to me, and I have peace of mind knowing that we're covered by Blue.
Whatever your cancer journey, there's one place in New Jersey where our discoveries become your care. You'll have access to advanced treatments, including clinical trials, thanks to our renowned scientists and multidisciplinary teams at New Jersey's only NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, the one world-class cancer program that's close to home. RWJ Barnabas Health and Rutgers Cancer Institute. Let's beat cancer together.
Karen's about to retire. Here's what's going into her retirement.
There's us. She raised us on our own.
10 years as my roller derby wife.
Three schools she's opened.
She's a mother.
I think we turned out all right.
She's a friend.
Our mothers could tell stories.
She's a teacher.
She may be retiring, but she's not done.
I'm never gonna stop.
Retirement is the sum of your life's work. Now what? Get income for life and protect your life's work with Prudential.
A transformative experience doesn't happen by accident. It's created with purpose. It's built on an engaged learning program that challenges you to go out and create your own opportunities on campus and anywhere else. It empowers you to chart your own course, compete and win at the highest level, and grow into a workforce-ready grad. It's signified by making the most of this pivotal time in your life. How will Rider University transform you?
Hello, I'm Laura Jones, and you've been watching the New Jersey Republican gubernatorial primary debate, and we are here now with two contributors to the New Jersey Globe called Stomping Ground, Alex Wilkes and Dan Bryan, to get some Republican and Democratic commentary after this debate, a very spirited debate. I mean, we were expecting some fireworks, but Alex, let me go to you first as the Republican, your takeaways.
Sure thing. I mean, much more spirited than we saw the Democrats on Sunday night. Very subdued on Sunday night. Much more fireworks display tonight. And look, I think that really has to do with the stakes. For the Democrats, who have much larger war chests, these are guys that can go in and attack each other through the mail, on broadcast, all day long from now until June 10th. For the Republicans, who have much fewer dollars in their bank account, this is their moment. This is their time to have a viral moment or to have something go out there, particularly when their policy differences aren't really that many. So I do think that I think you saw more fireworks tonight because Republicans needed that moment.
And what is your takeaway? Do you agree with what Alex said?
Listen, I'm going to disagree a little bit with my good friend Alex. I thought that debate was an absolute disgrace. I think that the four people up there should be embarrassed to have been a part of it. A lot of the people up there, I won't say all of them, a lot of the people were much better than what they presented tonight. We got a little bit into policy. I wish we'd saw a little bit more. I was actually happy to see Jack Ciattarelli present a few policy positions, whether I agree with them or not. I thought he was the most divisive of any of the candidates that I've seen. Maybe one of the most divisive of any debate I've seen, him and Bill Spadea. Neither of them looked very good tonight. So it was a real shame.
So what did you think when it came to, the candidates interrupting each other, that need to create a viral moment? People in New Jersey, we know these names, we know these faces. Even Jack Ciattarelli, though, who has won a few times, not everybody knows his name. So it's important a lot of times to create those moments because not everybody's necessarily going to turn in to that hour and 45 minutes. Your takeaway?
Sure, and then look, I think that's a symptom of our times, right? We are in that, X moment where we're looking at something briefly for 15 seconds and scrolling on to the next thing. So I do think that that's what the candidates were aiming to do. And like I said, the Democrats, by contrast on the stage here on Sunday night, they have millions and millions of dollars more in their bank accounts to be able to engineer some of those moments, to be able to create a lot of those moments in front of many more eyeballs on broadcast television, through the mail, through texting, through digital. So Republicans, I think if their goal was to come in hot tonight to get that going, it was certainly hot in this room tonight.
Let me ask you another question, and maybe I'm off base here, maybe I missed something. Bill Spadea at the very end, as his closing statement, said he'd only be a one-term governor. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's going to be lucky to be a one-term governor. I mean, listen, at least it's, again, a piece of news. It's a piece of policy. It's something other than a personal attack, which is how the candidates spent most of their time. I hear what Alex is saying in terms of trying to get out there and trying to make a splash. I think one of the things these guys did tonight was create a whole lot of ads for the Democratic candidates and ultimately the Democratic nominee who's going to have a field day with the debate tonight.
What do you think? Do you agree that this is going to give the Democrats fodder for their campaign?
Well, we had plenty of moments on Sunday night of the Democrats moving all the way to the left for our side in order to make some of those ads. But that being said, look, I think that it was certainly newsmaking at the end of the debate to hear Bill Spadea commit to that one term. We'll see what voters have to say about that because, look, I think that President Trump would be one of the first to admit that you need 8 years to get something done. So we'll see how voters respond to that and see if he has anything more to say or to add about what his plans are to enact some of his reforms in that truncated period.
There are some people who say the way that New Jersey goes, it kind of swings back and forth. They talk a lot about it being a blue state, especially on the national stage, but when it comes to state elections, it kind of goes back and forth. So this is the Republicans to lose. This is their time. Do you agree with that?
Listen, I'm not sure it's theirs to lose, but I will say, depending on the candidate that they nominate, it's going to be a very, very tough general election for Democrats. So I don't think anyone is taking it lightly. I think there's two candidates specifically on stage, John Bramnick and Jack Ciattarelli, that would be very formidable general election candidates. I think the other two a little less so. But listen, I don't think any Democrat that's nominated, I certainly hope not, and if they listen to me, I hope not, is going to take this lightly. It's going to be a very difficult general election.
Can you talk a little bit about, what it takes to win a primary and what it takes to win a general? Those are two different things. So a lot of times you have to swing farther to the right for the Republicans, farther to the left on the Democratic side to win that primary election. And then, after that, how do you come together? Just final thoughts there before we go to the press gaggle.
Of course, we're going, you're going to have candidates who speak one way in a primary, one way in a general. That's usually the way that it goes. I find that the candidates that speak authentically throughout both are usually the ones that are most successful on either side of this. And I think that we see on both sides that there's the opportunity for that turnaround to take place.
All right, and we're going to go to Bill Spadea, who's at the press gaggle now. Over to Bill Spadea.
We saw this on display tonight that,
I'm not the guy getting the support from the backroom money guys. I'm the guy with the support of the grassroots, the average working and middle-class New Jerseyan.
Bill, the debate was pretty chaotic.
Yes.
Did the quality of the debate rise to the level, the quality of the level of candidates?
I think what we saw tonight is that Jack Ciattarelli is not fit to be governor. He showed exactly why he has now lost twice. He couldn't control himself. He started interrupting right away. So, I mean, this is a guy that tells everyone he's the front runner. I thought he was an embarrassment tonight.
Bill, he filed a LEC complaint against your campaign, calling you a shadow campaign, running it through the radio show. But the FCC qualifies that as a legally qualified candidate. At what point do you consider yourself a legally qualified candidate?
So that question already came up. Remember, Ciattarelli came after me in June when I announced, and we won that hands down that I have a First Amendment right to stay on the radio. Actually, we won so convincingly that I could have stayed on until April 3rd when I would be a legally qualified candidate after submitting petitions. I chose to come off the air on January 30th because the station is huge. I mean, it's biggest in New Jersey, but it doesn't hit all the northern parts and southern parts. So I came off voluntarily to start campaigning there. But it is a meritless attack.
Do you not regret stepping down, sir, to avoid any possible ethical appearances?
Well, no, because he's claiming that it's been a shadow campaign for a long time. It's a meritless complaint, classic lawfare coming from a Republican who is acting like a Democrat. Remember, Ciattarelli has no issues to run on. He's lost twice because he is an empty suit. He has offered no solutions. He punts on everything, blames the legislature, blames the school boards, has no courage of any conviction because he's empty. So what does he do? He resorts to lawfare. That's why if you listen to him tonight and you watch all these ads coming at me, they're all negative, trying to tear me down. I've not heard one person say, wow, that Jack Ciattarelli, what a great idea he had. Never. Yes, ma'am.
Your answer about the pension, fully funding the pension.
Yeah.
Please clarify.
Yeah, we're gonna renegotiate with Well, we're going to renegotiate with the teachers because we have to. We cannot afford, between the NJEA, the CWA, and everyone else that is working in state municipal government, to continue to pay out because we have hundreds of billions in unfunded future liabilities. So the only responsible thing is to model after Act 10 in Wisconsin and put a line somewhere. Maybe it's 5 years in, 7 years in. I don't know. We're going to have a lot of smart people that'll decide where that line is and renegotiate and move toward a defined contribution instead of a defined benefit. However, cops and firefighters are not going to be a part of that because our cops and firefighters already had their pensions removed from state control. But I do believe it is a state obligation to fund COLA.
Bill, do you feel that should you be the nominee, you feel confident you can bring President Trump to New Jersey to rally for you and hopefully get the same energy that got out last week?
100%. I have had some private and public conversations with President Trump. He knows where I stand, and we want him in. Here's the difference. We have already asked President Trump to say, we want you to come in. We want to campaign with you. I've already done that. Unlike my opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, who told the president, stay away in 2021. Big mistake. I don't know. I would love to get an endorsement from President Trump. I believe that I am the only pro-Trump, solidly pro-Trump, despite the lies from these special interests and all the ads they're running. But I support the president 100%. And if he chooses to get into the race, I would welcome and I would love to have his endorsement. Yes, ma'am. Well, yeah, so what we have to do with property taxes is, first of all, we've got to hold towns accountable to what they're spending. So I believe we need to put a cap on the amount that they can raise taxes. That should be tied to gross domestic product, not inflation. To tie it to inflation is a disaster. We've seen the inflation disaster of the Biden 4 years. We can't let that happen here. We also need to cap how towns can assess and raise the assessment on home values. So we got to get control there. But the big issue, the way we get property taxes down, we implement school choice, we end the sanctuary state, and we do small things like enforcing federal detainer orders and get prisoners back behind bars by suspending bail reform and then charging the federal government. Do you know the Bergen County Jail was running at $5 million? It was essentially a profit center, and then Murphy took it all away. So it's a complicated issue, but we're going to cap it, and we have a plan to phase out real estate taxes starting at age 55, a 15-year phase out so our seniors can stay in the Garden State.
That's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Dan. Call me. You got another question, right? See you guys.
Senator, do you feel confident, should you be the nominee, that President Trump will actually come and campaign with you? I know you've been a little critical of the president, and can all be forgotten ultimately should you be the nominee?
Well, first, they asked me if he was willing to come, would I accept him? Absolutely. He's the President of the United States, and he's the leader of the party. What I said was, and I'll always do this, I will disagree with the president when it's not good for New Jersey. So the bottom line is, I'm not sure he wants somebody who's 80% with him or 90% with him. I think he wants somebody 100% with him. And as I said, that's probably not going to happen.
So far what he's doing, is that working for New Jersey right now?
Well, it depends on the issue. You know, certain executives, he's talking about infrastructure. He's talking about spending money on infrastructure. And I talked about the railroad and how important it was for Amtrak to change the infrastructure. I think that he realized there was a crisis at the border, and he's taken steps with respect to the border. I also said, even though I got a couple boos, that I am not going to pardon people beat up cops. I don't know what happened to my party with law and order, but I can tell you right now, if I disagree with the president, that's your job as governor. They want a strong governor, someone who's going to stand up for New Jersey. They don't want a governor who's going to say, well, President Trump does it, I have to be with him 100%. That's not what independent voters, that's not what moderate Democrats, and that's not what all Republicans want. I'm going to be an independent governor with principles set forth on traditional Republican values.
Senator, you said you called Trump supporters crazy in the past, as you saw in the audience tonight. A lot of them are with the former President, a majority of the Republican base in the state voted for Trump, almost 2 million of them. How are you going to win them over, and why should they vote for someone like you who has criticized Trump supporters in the past and has said that the former president, or I should say the current president, is not someone you would have supported?
No, what I've said is there are extremists on both sides of the aisle, and I don't support extremists. I think 75% of people in New Jersey are in the middle. That's why I keep winning, and these other three guys keep losing, because people want somebody who reflects the will of the people, which is 75% of people in New Jersey. And yes, there are certain crazy people, and I probably have identified them, but they're on both sides of the aisle.
Are Trump supporters crazy?
Trump supporters are not crazy. I may disagree with certain things that Trump does, but look, the way another candidate frames me, I can't do anything about that.
John, you mentioned the desegregation settlement times, and you said that it would force parents. There's nothing involved in those talks that
I didn't say it shut down schools. This litigation says that schools are segregated. The courts made that decision. Now, how are you going to desegregate the schools? One of the things that has been discussed is moving children from one school to another school. I have a constitutional amendment that says if you move into a neighborhood, you'll have the right to go to your local school. I don't think that's ever come off as one of the options to desegregate the schools. And if they have said that, please show me where Governor Murphy or the Democrats have said that. An option is to bus kids 5 or 10 miles away, and I'm never going to support that. They haven't come to a settlement. Yeah, first of all, you may be party to those settlement negotiations, but I can tell you it's incumbent on a Democratic administration to tell us what the options are. You may know somebody in the negotiations. I don't. Yeah.
Were you surprised that people booed at the January 6th comments you made?
Oh, no. I've been in this business so long, but I'm going to tell you, booing will never stop me from standing up for police and saying that pardoning everybody, regardless of the nature of the crime, is the right thing to do. Hitting cops over the head with poles, hitting them or spraying them with bear spray and just say, it's all forgiven. Hey, that's my point. That's how I differ from the other three people on the stage. I'm going to tell you what I think.
John,
Dan, yeah.
Last question. Someone had mentioned your prior comments when you said that you would drop out of the race if Trump won New Jersey. Do you regret making those comments?
I said if Trump wins New Jersey, I will drop out of the race. He lost by hundreds of thousands of votes. The other three people think he won. Actually, Jack thinks he won the election. They all lost in New Jersey. The reason I keep winning is because I reflect the will of the majority of people in New Jersey. As I said, I reflect the will of the people in a district that's controlled by Democrats. If we want to win, then vote for somebody who can win.
That's it.
My property tax plan is first to make sure in the middle of the night, and you were down there, where the Democrats take $1 billion, they hide it, and then they give it to certain districts to get their vote to vote for the budget. Take that $1 billion that they gave away every year and give it back to the people, to the schools, to the municipalities, and that's going to affect property taxes. And cap government spending at the state level through a constitutional amendment at 2%. The way we do for municipalities. And then all of a sudden, guess what? You won't have that Christmas tree spending.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, no, but I was going to, I know Republicans.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press.
Jack, were you surprised that the governor is too powerful in New Jersey? Would you
if you became governor, support a constitutional amendment to strip powers in the governor's office?
I think we need to take a look at the powers the governor has during an emergency like the pandemic. I think if we learned anything from the pandemic is that the government may be too powerful. He ran by fiat for close to 2 years. And it's the legislature that represents the people. And the legislature is an equal branch of government. So during a state of emergency, does our governor have too much power? I'll put together a panel to analyze that and see what other states do.
Jack.
Daniel.
It's good to see you, Jack. You gave a thumbs up when asked if you would support a repeal of the driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. During the 21 general debate, you said you wanted to keep that law in place. So which is it, and can you explain your position now?
Listen, if you watched Donald Trump's recent interview with NBC News, when he was asked about the millions of people that are here, some of which have been here for decades, what he said is, this is going to be very, very difficult. Which suggests, I don't want to get out ahead of the president, I'll support whatever he's going to do with his final mass deportation plan. But if there are people who are not going to be deported, we need to know who they are. And the way to do that is with a government-issued ID. So my opponents will tell you something different about my position. My position is if there are people who are not going to be deported, and we're going to wait and see what the president's plan is with regard to that, if there are people who are not going to be deported, they ought to have from a homeland security standpoint, they ought to have a government-issued ID, and that's not even my idea. That was an ID given to me by law enforcement.
Jack, when it comes to New Jersey transit, realistically, what do you think the governor and the legislature can do to really help improve New Jersey transit? North Jersey is one thing, Central and South Jersey is another thing. Realistically, what's the plan that you think you can get New Jerseyans behind?
I will exert enormous pressure on our 2 U.S. senators and all 12 of our House representatives to get on Amtrak, which is a federal program. New Jersey Transit does have its issues, but a great many of the issues are the fact that they run on federal rails owned by Amtrak. So let's get working together. I mean, our U.S. senators have been silent on this. They've also been silent on congestion pricing. And so Donald Trump, promises made, promises kept. He put a temporary halt on the wind farms, and he's now starting to negotiate an end to congestion pricing. But let me say this. If that congestion pricing goes through, I will be faced with no choice other than a retaliatory tactic. You come through the tunnels in the morning or over the bridge with a New York plate in New Jersey, we'll hit you with a fee, and we'll fund our New Jersey Transit program. Yes, right here.
Thank you very much. Jack, you have called on the state legislature to begin proceedings against Governor Murphy, impeachment hearing proceedings, if in fact these claims are true, that he is housing a migrant in his house. The governor's office has reviewed that. They say it was misinterpreted, misunderstood. However, Tom Homan says he's looking into it. So do you think the governor should be impeached on that? And also, if he won't be impeached and the state legislature won't act on it, should he resign right now?
This is the second time in 1 month period that Democratic politicians are calling the wrong kind of attention to New Jersey. First, it was a U.S. senator who's going away to prison for 11 years for corruption. And now we have a governor who 48 hours ago said something that's in violation of federal law at a time when the president is trying to make the country safer. And I think every governor has an obligation to work with the president, not taunt a federal agency about coming to his house to look into him harboring an illegal. It was irresponsible, it's outrageous, and it's dangerous because of the state police that provide detail there.
Should he be impeached or resign?
In light of what the governor said, I believe the legislature should begin impeachment proceedings. I don't buy this backpedaling now coming from a spokesperson. He said what he said out of his own mouth on the record. He said he and his wife were harboring someone who doesn't have U.S. citizenship in their house. That is in violation of federal law. If no one's above the law, then he should be, impeachment proceedings should commence.
Jack, were you, I'm sorry.
Right here. Hey, Brent.
Hi, Jack. Were you surprised at the people who booed the January 6th comments that John made?
Am I surprised? Listen, there's people all over the place with regard to January 6th. But here's what I'm not going to do with this campaign. I got people that are lying about Jack Ciattarelli. I take it as a compliment. It says I'm the front runner. And all the internal and external polling says that. Fundraising says that. Name ID says that. That doesn't mean I'm taking anything for granted. Nobody works harder than I do up and down the state 8 days a week. And that's not just for me. It's to get Republicans elected. Okay, but what we're not going to do in any of these debates is let the lies continue. The truth hurts. Or the famous line from that movie, A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. I think Mr. Spady approved that tonight. Sir, right here.
What do you think about the Jan6 pardons, and also what's your property tax?
I issued a statement on this. Okay, first of all, I'm not going to be lectured by anybody who had nothing to say when Joe Biden commuted the sentence of 30 people on death row. I'm not going to be lectured by them. Anybody who was wrongly accused and prosecuted on January 6th by an overzealous and politically motivated prosecutor should be pardoned. Anybody who exacted violence on anybody on that day, including police, I believe should not have been pardoned. That is what I said in my statements of 3 weeks ago.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Senator. 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you. How you guys doing?
Senator, when it comes to sanctuary state policies, obviously we know what a disaster it's been for New Jersey. You were one of the first ones to say you want to rescind that immediately upon taking office. Should you become governor, how quick will that happen?
That would happen on day one. I would rescind the Governor Murphy's sanctuary state policies. And I want to reiterate, I agree with Bill on, I think every person who was in a medical field or whether a correction officer who lost their job, because Governor Murphy put out so many EOs that it, based under COVID, that it took away these people's jobs. I think they should get full reinstatement, just like President Trump reinstated the military and gave them all back pay. I would do the same thing.
What is your property tax plan?
So, I have a plan for, my plan is to eliminate, ultimately lower the sales tax, eliminate the sales tax altogether. Then we are going to address the rest of the taxes. Because why the sales tax, people ask? All of us feel the sales tax. Millionaire doesn't feel a sales tax, and people on welfare don't feel the sales tax, but you and I, who have to deal with it every day, feel that sales tax. So let's get rid of that, and then we'll work on the next one. But we got to work on all the taxes. You saw up here on the stage how a couple of them already said, yeah, there are some taxes we can add. No, we don't need to add taxes. We need to take taxes away. We are the most taxed state. People are getting crippled in this state.
So
I'll get you next.
Out of everyone else on the stage tonight, you have lagged in fundraising by far. What's your response to people who question whether your campaign is viable right now?
Look, my campaign is a volunteer campaign. We brought on recently a professional fundraising consultant, and we are going to continue to raise the money that we need to raise to get our message out. We're going to get our message out. Whether I make the elect 580 or whatever, that's going to be up to the people, and they can go to edthetrucker.com. But, it's not about money. Campaigns shouldn't be about money. It should be about the people. And that's what I'm here. I'm here serving the people.
At what point do you feel like you would be comfortable getting out of this race if you couldn't get?
I'm not getting out of the race.
So you're going to stay this until June, no matter what.
I'm not getting out of the race. I beat the Senate president on $10,000. Regardless of what other people say, I beat the Senate president, not Jack, not the GOP. They want to take credit for it, but I did it. I went out there and knocked doors. And I shouldn't say just I. Myself and a bunch of volunteers. We went out and knocked doors, thousands of doors, and we earned that victory. Jack goes and talks about his coattails, but we did it. Myself, Commissioner Conowell, Commissioner DeSilvio, Sheriff Sammons, we went out there and knocked the doors.
Does the bill by the state legislature limit requiring a larger amount of signatures to get on the ballot? Does that hurt your efforts to get on the ballot?
No, I'm going to get the signatures, but I think it should be questioned. How can a legislature go and throw in a new rule change in the middle of a process? So I think that should be questioned, but we're going to get our signatures.
If you don't win the Republican primary, will you endorse the nominee, whoever it is?
Regardless of what comes out in June, Republicans need to win come November. We need to win. This state has been under a Democrat rule for too long, and you see what it's happening. As President Trump said, what do you have to lose by going the other way? What do you got to lose? It certainly isn't going to get better if you continue the same.
Senator, you've said a couple of the Scutari and a couple other lawmakers have talked about consolidating watchdogs. I don't know how you feel about that as an anti-establishment candidate. Like they finished it tonight. They want a SEI, the comptroller's office to merge. Do you think that New Jersey has too many watchdogs?
I think that New Jersey has a bloated government. We have too much. The problem with people is they're not, I shouldn't say the problem with people. I should say the problem is that people are not, they believe that the government is the ruler. That like the federal, then the state, and then the people, or the local, and then the people. It's the other way around. The people gave the power to the government, and we need to take the power back. The power shouldn't be in the state government. I want to make the state government so small that you don't know it exists. That's what I want to do. You don't need me telling you what kind of car you need to own, or what kind of heater you have, or how much you should spend, or whether you can smoke in your house or smoke outside. That's up to you. What's that? I will have somebody go after the corruption. My lieutenant governor will watchdog the corruption, and we will have the state police.
Can you clarify your stance on executive orders and when you think they're okay and when you're not a fan of them?
I think there is a need for executive orders, but I also think that we already have a governor ruling by fiat, and we don't want another governor ruling that way. We have to get back to ruling by the way it was meant, through the legislature, the people's choice, the legislatures, and then the governor, and you come to a consensus and a compromise, and you rule that way. But now, there's going to be certain things that are going to have to be done day one. Like I said, sanctuary state. But I want to work with the legislature. And I've been there, and I had a good relationship with many Democrats.
But how do you draw the line where it is something that needs an executive order?
Well, when it's best for the people, it's going to have to get done. Like, I think bail reform is one of the first things that is a problem. We have criminals walking the streets that should be in jail. So we got to have to end that policy.
So you would do that with an executive order as well?
I think the bail reform, I think the executive order for sanctuary state that gives benefits to all illegals needs to be ended day one.
Thank you.
And all that is reversing Governor Murphy's executive orders. It's not me making new ones. It's me ending old ones.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead to trucker.com.
All right, I'm Laura Jones. This has been the New Jersey Republican gubernatorial primary debate. We thank you so much for watching. We thank you to all of the candidates, all of our sponsors, and to you in the audience for watching as well. Remember, primary election day is June 10th. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching.